It's amazing what a few months can do for these two teams. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another great live watch along with us on THPN. I am Kyle, your host. Now, tonight things are going to be a little bit different because Peter from our Six and the Six guys had some technical difficulties internet-wise. We got a bunch of snow here near Toronto and, power, let's just say that's the issue. So that's okay, though, because tonight we have a couple of guests coming in between the first, second, and third periods, and I am more than happy to introduce you guys tonight from one of our other Leafs podcasts on this great network. It's Rob. What's going on, Rob?
How's it going, buddy? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing great. Listen, I really appreciate it because it was last minute. I live an hour north of Toronto, and this past weekend was ridiculous when it came to a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Right. So I really do appreciate it. I know it was kind of last minute, but I do appreciate you coming on for a little bit here during the first.
Thanks for having me, man. Always down to watch a Leaf game.
Me too. Sure. Time to time. Listen, sometimes it's on cable and I'm like, yeah, it's the only one I get. For those of you who don't know myself, I've been growing up north of Toronto for about 15 years. And you can kind of see by the way it looks, that's just how it went. That was the direction I went, unfortunately. And it's been interesting the last 4 or 5 games for both of these teams. Mentioning it here in the comments early on, it's the Leafs who have been losing 4 straight and the Flames who all of a sudden have been winning 4 straight. And every game going forward now, when you look at the standings, means a lot in terms of, especially where the Leafs sit and even where the Flames sit as well, too. Just seeing it here right now, going into this game tonight for the Leafs, their top wildcard spot with being at 50 points. And then all of a sudden, the teams trailing here are Tampa Bay at 49, Pittsburgh at 48, Washington at 48, the Islanders at 48. A lot of teams still very much in the mix.
Log jam.
So I guess it's a log jam. And so my first question to you, Rob, going into this game tonight is, and especially going forward, how concerning is this, even the last 4 games losing streak here? Is this for this team going forward? What changes need to be made? And how confident do you feel about this team going forward?
I don't know if I'd use the word concerning, just because I think from the get-go in this season, my expectations have been in the right place. If you've watched the Talking Buds Leaf show this year, both my brother and I have really been steadfast in trying to keep level-headed expectations for what this team actually is and what they're going to do going forward at the deadline. Like, I think there is still a contingent of the fan base that thinks there's going to be a Kyle Dubas sort of completely reassemble this roster, and I don't think that's happening. At best case scenario, you're bringing in a couple of depth pieces. I do think they'll make the playoffs. But do I think, as currently constructed, they are capable of winning a round? Maybe. But is this team going on a cup run and having cup expectations? Probably not. No.
Well, considering you do have Bradtree living as a GM, and from experience, he can make a move just like that.
Yeah.
Right? So, who knows? Maybe they're able to find some free money sitting around somewhere and they're able to make some moves in order to free up some space. And I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with them. So Going into tonight, though, specifically with this game, for the goaltending matchups, you got Martin Jones taking on Daniel Vladar tonight. I'll kind of get more into the Flames side a little bit afterwards, but because I know I don't have a lot of time with you tonight, I thought I'd kind of dive in a little bit with this Leafs team. A lot of changes happening, especially on that top line. So I believe it's Holmberg on the top line now with Matthews and Marner.
Yes.
What do we think of Holmberg being a part of that top line? Is there a definitive solution come close to this playoff push that they're able to kind of really stabilize this top line?
I think he's been pleasantly surprising. Like, it's actually, when they put him up there, I think everyone was kind of like, Pontus Holmberg. But I think he's played pretty well through a few games. Now, like a lot of things with this Leaf team, Simone Benoit has also played really well. But do you want Simone Benoit in your top 4 going into the playoffs? No. Do you want Pontus Holmberg in your top 6 going into the playoffs? No. So right. I think he's been pleasantly surprising to watch. And I think, like, Max Domi, I think, if put in the right situation, can also be effective. But yeah, I just keep coming back to what I was saying to you earlier about, let's have realistic expectations for what this team actually is. And I just can't get off that. If you follow me on Twitter, I've been very vocal about the most intriguing storyline surrounding the Leafs right now, in my personal opinion, is Sheldon Keefe. And the fan base split down the middle of should they let him go or should they keep him? And the people who say they should keep him are very much in the camp of, well, it's not his fault that the roster is as such. And it's like, true, but based on what I've been saying here about realistic expectations for who they can bring in and what changes they can make, that's the biggest card they have to play.
Right.
The new coach bump and bringing in a new guy with a new set of eyes on this thing, which was something that I was very vocal about in the offseason. As soon as you committed to running back the same core guys, that's when you needed to change the coach, because it was something's got to give. And let's get a new fresh set of eyeballs on this. Look no further than the quote from yesterday about, well, I still don't know who I can trust in certain situations. It's like, dude, we're 41, 42 games in here. Like, what are you talking about?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know. To me, that's the most intriguing storyline around the team right now is, like, if they lose this game tonight, it's about to get real, real loud and real hot in the coach's room here in Toronto.
I can't wait.
Me too.
I can't wait.
Me too.
Crazy though what happened, I think, if you remember or recall, the last time these two teams played back in Toronto, if I remember most of it, I think the Leafs had like a 3-1 lead or 4, whatever it was. Flames came back. We didn't really deserve to be in that game in the first place, to be honest. It was an exciting overtime, goes to a shootout. Liam's got 5-2. He's got some hope for your Leafs tonight for this game, as we're about to drop the puck here in about 2 seconds, and I'll bring up our lovely scoreboard here in a moment. What are your predictions or anything to expect going into tonight for this Leafs team?
I think they're going to win tonight. This Leafs team has shown that right when you think all hell's about to break loose, they'll string together a couple of wins. Now, the Flames are rolling, and then they've got Vancouver and Seattle this weekend. So the schedule's tough.
Brutal.
But I don't know. I could just see them. If they lose tonight, this is uncharted territory in the Keefe era, losing 5 in a row. And that's, like I said earlier, it's about to get real interesting in Leafs.
Yes. Nation. Yeah. Don't mind me. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up the scoreboard because the game is now officially underway.
Yep.
I'll leave it here for a second just because I can't find the scoreboard. But anyway, but yeah, it, like you said, it's gonna get it doesn't feel like, I mean, maybe it is a must. It feels like a must-win tonight for these Leafs. But Angus here for us. He's been with us for a while. I appreciate Angus for coming back. He's got 2-0 Leafs. Well, logically, it would be Flames over Leafs because this stuff happens. On my side of it, I'm not happy either with this team, to be honest. Even after winning 4 games in a row, it's very upsetting here in Flames land because we don't know who we want to be. We don't know if we're good. Right. We don't know if we're terrible. We don't know if we're garbage or if we're really good. Like, a lot of us at the beginning of the year just wanted to sell our assets and just, get what you can out of it because we knew it was going to be a tough year.
What the Raptors are finally doing.
Right. And so I think that was kind of like, that was our thoughts going into going into the season. And, it kind of looked that way at the beginning of the year. And the important thing is, too, for us is that Montreal has a top 10 protected pick. So if we finish outside of the, if we finish inside the top 10 this year, we retain the pick. But if we don't, the pick goes to Montreal.
Oh.
And yeah, it was because of this whole Sean Monahan deal. And we're like, I appreciate it if we lose.
Yeah, yes.
By the way, early power play coming up for the Flames here. About a minute.
William Nylander.
Nylander goes off for high sticking, and the Flames will get a quick power play. And something to note here too, Rob, is that this Flames power play, who's been pretty bad for most of the year, in this 4-game stretch has been fantastic because of our lone bright spot in Sharon Govich, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of by now.
Well, you're also up against the Leafs PK, which is 23rd in the league. So,
great.
Yeah.
I don't think that means much going into tonight.
It's there's been games lately where the PK, I think it's like you come away from it going, okay, that wasn't that bad tonight. Maybe we're going to get in a roll here, and then they come out the next game and they give up 3 goals on the penalty kill, and you're like, oh nope, back to square one.
Yay. I wanted your thoughts. So I know it's been a little bit here, and I'm saying this because Nylander's in the box. What's been your impressions so far, and now kind of taking it in now that Nylander's signed this deal and he's had a couple of games in, now that you've had some time to kind of sit on it, what are you thinking now as the years will go on with this Nylander deal? What are your thoughts?
I'm not surprised. The Brendan Shanahan Leafs, this era of Toronto Maple Leafs, the Brendan Shanahan era, has shown overwhelmingly that they are devoted to these 3 guys specifically. Tavares, given his age, I think is a bit of a different story, but they've shown that they're not moving off these 3 guys. And I think that frustrates some people, but the reality is these 3 guys are good for business. Ever since they've been here, they've made the playoffs every year. Before they came into the fray, we had the Phil Kessel, Dion Phaneuf, Joffrey Lupul era that never made the playoffs. And I think it's a business decision. And I think sometimes that's what's frustrating about being a fan is it's run very much like the decisions seem to be made almost with a corporate mindset. And I see a lot of people after Nylander signed that deal that were like, oh, well, now this means they're going to squeeze Marner on his next deal. And it's like, no, they're not.
Right.
No, they're not. Mitch Marner is
Not
getting
close.
somewhere in the 12s. Like that. Matthews is at 13 and 13.25. William Nylander's at 11.5. That means Marner's coming in somewhere at the 12s, and he's going to get everything he wants, just like Nylander did, the full no move, everything, because that's just this era. It's what they are. And
right.
It's kind of, on the one hand, you can be frustrated with that, but on the other hand, it's like, could you imagine if we didn't have these guys? And this was,
that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's been, and I mean, you were talking about coaching really quick beforehand, especially with Keefe. And I think a great example can be Edmonton at the beginning of the year, where Woodcroft goes, they bring in this new coach. Yeah, it took a couple of games for them to get going, and all of a sudden they win 12 straight. So it's not like this team here they absolutely could use a new, fresh set of eyes, right? And if you wanted to make that change, it's not too late. We're still in January, right? And there's still 40 games left to play. There's lots of time for this to happen.
Also, the argument for not doing it in the offseason with respect to moving on from Keefe was, well, who are you going to bring in? And at the time, it was like, okay, I can kind of see that. Like there wasn't exactly a robust candidate pool, but you got Craig Berube sitting right there, who did this with this exact thing with the Blues in 2019. Now, I'm not saying he would come in here and take the Leafs to a Stanley Cup, but I think he's a proven guy that you could bring in immediately and hopefully could squeeze more, because that's how I look at it, right? Like I keep coming back to, there's no massive fix coming at the deadline. If anything, it'll be more depth pieces, whether it's forward, defenseman, whatever. So let's bring someone else who can squeeze more out of this
a little bit.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
That's the best hope for the rest of this year. Like that's just the reality of it.
It's true. Like any sort of like bottom 6 or whatever bottom 6 forwards, or any sort of bottom 4 defensemen that you can find, right, to fill those voids, because of the money cap that you're crunched with. It's like, well, you're not going to find that many guys at the deadline anyway. And I mean, for what it's worth, it's been fairly quiet in terms of guys who are willing to get traded at the deadline anyway. I know one team who's been wanting to, sell players, right? Like,
but
and we
now,
can kind of get into
like
that.
you said earlier, you guys are kind of in a position now where you're moving in on the playoff on the West. So it's like, do you really want to move players that could help you get
I hate
there?
it.
Yeah.
No. I want to
no.
sell my assets.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, like, there was a lot of talk about a connection with Lindholm to Colorado and possibility of Bowen Byram coming down the pipeline. And I'm like, I don't know if Colorado would go for that. I don't know what it would look like, but I'll accept it, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of like the kind of trade talks, I mean, clearly it's been linked between these two teams, right? Between our two teams with Brattry living, right? And to give you a little bit of insight on our end, I know that, Hanifin's been talked about and Tanev and Lindholm, and we see Zadorov now. He's off in Vancouver. It sounds like from our end that Hanifin is probably going to get an extension at some point. I got a feeling that he's probably going to be off the table very soon. The feeling is that, though, that Chris Tanev will more than likely be moved to the deadline, and the popular destination does happen to be Toronto, because of reasons, right? Obviously on defense. If that's something that were to go down, what would you be willing to give up for a guy like Chris Tanev to help out defensively?
That's the $1 million question.
And yes, it is, Connor. It always is. Sorry.
They've the last few years, Kyle Dubas has traded away a lot of draft capital, right? So you look at their high end prospects. Like, you've got Nyes who's playing on the team now, but you've also got Easton Cowan and Fraser Minton, and everything that I've seen it reported is True Living doesn't want to move off those guys. So unless you're willing to give up your first round pick again this year, which again I'm not sure they're gung ho to do, because if they want the stud defenseman that they so desperately need, they're going to have to hit on something in the draft, because anyone who's got a stud, like A1 NHL defenseman, is not getting rid of them. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think they have what it takes to get a Chris Tanev, is basically what I'm saying.
I think it's going to hit a point with Tanev where, in my eyes, I don't see us getting a first round pick for him. I could see a second and a very mid to low prospect possibly at this point.
They missed on Zadorov because they didn't have the second.
They did. So from the Zadorov trade, it was a third, like 3 years down the line, and a fifth. And from what I think, it made us very angry at the time when it happened. But the reason why it's coming out like that is because Vancouver more than likely won't sign him this offseason. So I think Vancouver just wasn't willing to give up enough, because they were trending in the direction of like, look, we'll use him as a rental. We're probably not going to sign him, though, this offseason. So because of the fact that they have other big fish to deal with, such as Pettersson, and, the list goes on there. So that was the initial kind of reaction on that side of it there.
Right. Yeah, because I just don't. I look at what the Leafs have. Like, I don't know. You want Nick Robertson? Like, Sheldon Keefe doesn't want to play him. So, like, there's just like, if you're the Flames, it's like, anyone that you would covet, they don't want to move off of. So we're kind of at a stalemate here, right? It's really it's a conundrum.
It is. And again, like, on our side of it, like, we have a guy in Matthew Coronado who's in the AHL buried there because of a cap hit, because of the cap crunch, right? So, it'll probably be okay once the trade deadline is done, and, we move Tanev, and hopefully we bring Robertson over. I can't remember what his contract looks like, but hopefully he can, if he were over here, like, he can start some games for us.
Well, he definitely needs a change of scenery or a new like, it's very clear that Sheldon Keefe does not want to play him. His cap hit is $796.
Oh, okay. So, Leakman.
Affordable.
Right. Is he going through his entry? Is it his entry deal right now?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's an RFA at the end of this season.
And then I imagine he's probably going to get like some sort of prove it deal, give or take, like anywhere.
Well, he hasn't done enough to earn a substantial pay increase, and through no fault of his own. Like, he's had a lot of injury troubles, and he's just had a really hard time acclimating into this Leaf team. And like I said, part of it, I do blame Sheldon Keefe for part of it. Sheldon Keefe really struggles to develop players. It's not something that he excels at. It's
Right.
not. So it's frustrating. I really feel for him, like, because I don't think he's been up here pretty much all year, save for a few games at the beginning of the season. And I don't think he's been like terrible. Like, I don't watch him at night
I
most nights and
agree.
go, yeah, I don't watch him most nights and go, oh my God, Nick Robertson. But you do. He needs to process the game faster. Like, he doesn't process at the level that they want him to. And I think that's part of the problem.
I get it. Yeah. And I think we would be intrigued on our end. This is just me speaking though, right? With Nick Robertson, because of the way that Sharon Govich has played, right? He didn't fit in that system over in New Jersey, and he just needed a fresh start from what we heard when then, we go and acquire him. And it was a 2-year deal for $2 or $3 million, give or take, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And it's flourishing and it's working. And, maybe that's something. And I think for Robertson, you're right. Like, it is tough to kind of fit into that lineup, whose fault it was. You never know at the end of the day. But maybe he does just kind of need that fresh start where he really just needs to be at a specific role on this lineup, wherever it is, like 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, within the lineup. And he just needs some good minutes, right? He can't keep going in and out of this lineup.
Yes, and he's an offensive player. So Keefe's had him in a third line role. One of the things that I found frustrating with Keefe this year is with the third line specifically. It's like, what is the identity you want from these guys? Because when you put Max Domi and Nick Robertson together on a third line, those are two offensive guys. So you're not going to deploy that line in a checking role. Like, yes, you've got Yarncroke with them, who's a defensively responsible player, but you're not going to. So it's like you put those two together. They're offensive players with offensive upside, but you're only going to play them 9 minutes a night and give all the high leverage offensive opportunities to the big boys. So, like,
to the big four, yeah.
How are they going to succeed?
And that kind of leads into my next question, I think. Like, I'm looking too far ahead here in terms of the offseason, but it does bring up questions, especially with the way the team's playing over the last little bit. What do you prioritize going forward, right? You have contracts still expiring with Tavares and Marner, and you wonder what those kind of deals could look like, or they move on. So I'm curious with your thoughts. I think just me real quick to put my 2 cents into that whole situation. I think Tavares has made his money at the end of the day. So I think if there's anybody who needs to take a quote unquote pay cut, I am kind of looking at Tavares going, look, dude, like, you have made your money, and if you want to really prioritize winning, we can't pay you as much.
Also, man, you're 35 at this,
right?
Like, you're a senior citizen in NHL years.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think like I said earlier, I think Marner's getting paid. I think the same thing that happened with Willie's happening with Mitch. He's going to get what he wants. He's going to get full no move all the way through, and then they're going to have to look at Tavares and say. And what's interesting is how Tavares is playing right now. He's not looked good. He hasn't had, they said in the pregame show, and I saw this on Twitter the other day, he doesn't have a regulation goal since a 5-on-5 goal. Yeah. Since like the Sweden trip.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh,
and he's
man,
really
good.
And he looks really slow out there. He's just ineffective. You can tell it's affected his confidence. So his decision making is struggling. So I don't know. I'd sit down across from him and go, listen, we'd love to have you. I also am only giving you like a 1 to 2 year extension. Like, we're not giving you like a 3-4 year extension. Like, it's not happening.
I agree. I completely agree. Yeah, I think you have to.
Anyone who gets upset at that is people who are just emotionally attached to the guy, because he's the first one to ever come home and it was a big deal. And I hate when people criticize his contract, because that is such 2020 hindsight. When he signed that, we all were through the roof. Everybody was like, oh my God, John Tavares came home. We've added him to the core. Now they've got 2 elite centermen. Like, so if I don't like doing the hindsight thing with his contract, but
sure,
like, he's in his mid-30s. He'll be in his mid-30s by the time this thing is over. And you gotta play hardball with the guy. He needs to take a substantial pay cut, and they need to use what money they have. If you look at their cap friendly and their blue line going into next year, like TJ Brody, UFA. So I don't know if they're going to resign him. Jake McCabe, 1 more year at $2 million. Timothy Liljegren, RFA. Connor Timmins, $1.1 million. And then Giordano, UFA, Benoit, RFA, Legason, UFA. So they have 3 defensemen under contract going into next year.
Right.
So they're going to have some cap space to play with.
And 2 goaltenders, in Samsonov and Martin, it looks like.
Yes. So they're going to have some cap. Yeah, they're going to have some cap space to play with here. So they're going to have to really take that time and that money and really rebuild this blue line. Like they absolutely have to, because they are slow back there, man.
And speaking of which, they're showing the O-time possession. Calgary's almost at 3 minutes in this period, and the Leafs have barely had any time here in the offensive zone. Still no score here in the first period of this game. Yep. Shots were 7-4 for the Flames early on. And just kind of leading off of that, I was actually just looking at the cap friendly here. Man, next year's going to suck for you guys in terms of money. It's not going to be fun.
No.
What's your approach? I know it's early and we're not even close to the off season, but with this team, it's just intriguing because it's like you have so much money going to the 4 guys. You got 7.5 going to Morgan Riley. I am so ready to watch what they do this offseason because it's rewind.
Let's rewind this conversation to a few minutes ago when you were asking who would I give up to get Chris Tanev, and the answer is nobody, because we need young, cheap talent to fill out this roster next year.
Right.
Yeah. So Tree's got his work cut out for him in the offseason, man. He's got his work cut out for him.
And I mean, speaking from personal experience, and I think he kind of knows this because he went through the whole saga of the Johnny Gaudreau and Tkachuk situation. And assuming that he's learned his lesson, he's probably not going to let a contract, like Tavares and Marner, go all the way to the final hour, right? It more than likely won't happen.
I also think that I think Brendan Shanahan plays a massive role in that too, especially with Marner. Like I think Brendan Shanahan is very, very, like, sometimes I say this a lot on the podcast, and I don't mean to discredit Tree Living and his authority and his decision-making authority, but I just think Brendan Shanahan is very, very, very involved in those types of conversations, decision-making, etc.
And I don't blame him. I think he has to be involved in those, right?
Yep.
Like, he clearly didn't like what he saw from Sheldon Keefe. I think Keefe just kind of found himself out the door in that situation there. And, he wants a little bit more control. And I'm more or less curious to see who is holding more of these conversations. Is it coming from Brendan Shanahan? Is it coming from Brad Tree Living? Right? Who holds more power, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I think it's probably Brendan Shanahan. I think
probably,
like I said earlier, I think when it comes to the 3 key guys, Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, I think they're not letting those guys go. They're not playing hard, but they didn't play hardball with Nylander. Like it.
That's right.
And I think that's what people found frustrating. Like it's not, is he a great hockey player that's worth the money? It's like, what did he concede on? He didn't concede on anything. He got everything he
wanted. To interrupt, it's 1-0 Calgary early on.
Oh, look at that, Martin.
And it looks
Jones.
like it's my boy.
I
think it's Igor Sharangovich early on as he continues his goal streak. It is Sharangovich, and the Flames find themselves up 1-0 early on in this contest.
The Tavares line on the ice for that one. Oh boy.
Yeah, just looking at it here, Sharangovich behind the net tries to feed it in front. He's been on a line with Huberdeau and Lindholm. Bad tip, and it looks like actually I think they were showing Sharangovich, but I think it was Anderson who just shot it. It might have went off a Leaf player, or it might have did actually go off Sharangovich. It's hard to tell. But regardless, they're showing Sharangovich, so I'm more likely assuming that it was a tip-in, as it is Sharangovich. He gets his 19th of the year. He's been on a heater, and the Flames lead 1-0 early on.
Oh, boy. 9 shots already, too. TJ Brody on the ice for that one, too. He's oh my God. Sometimes I think of True Living sitting up in the Leaf press box there and looking down at Brody and Giordano and being like, I moved away from these. I got away from these.
Why are they here?
And now here they are again. TJ Brody, man, he's fallen off a cliff. Like we just looked at the Leafs cap friendly, and this is the last year on his deal, and they're bye-bye TJ Brody at the end of this season.
And I was really sad.
Thanks for 5 years.
Yeah, and you know what? I was really sad when we lost Brody because he was a reliable 1B defenseman, right?
Mhm.
You know, the pairing I think with him and Giordano like lasted forever, and it did work really well. And I think at the time when you probably acquired him, he was on his last quote unquote legs of his value. You know what I mean? And then
Right.
all of a sudden it just kind of falls off, right? It's just you want to get these guys at their peak value, and it's unfortunate. I'm actually a little sad that that's kind of the way his career's kind of gone with the Leafs. Because I was sad when we lost him. I think he's a great defenseman.
Yeah, he's had a really, and he was really great here for the first few years. He was a really stable partner that they had with Morgan Riley, but he's had a tough go this year, man. It's really, really tough to watch.
Yeah. So going into what's going to be a very interesting playoff push because I want to quickly bring up here. I wonder if I can do it actually on Flash Store because I see there is a standings here. So I'm going to quickly bring this up. That's just the Western Conference there. They show 1 through 8. Hey, Calgary 9th grade, right in the middle of the pack.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But let's take a look here real quick. If we go all the way down here, I know this is like 1 through 8. I can't adjust it. It is what it is. But it's still a good way to look at it because the Leafs and the Lightning here currently control the top 2 wildcard spots. And then all of a sudden it gets really interesting in terms of points because you have the Leafs at 50. And then if you look at all the teams below, 49, 48, 48, 48, 47 for the Devils, you got 5 teams in the span of 3 points of each other.
Even the Habs are only 5 points back.
And the Habs are at 45.
Yeah. Look at that. Like, yeah, man, it's getting like the Flames scoring that goal there, and the way it's gone this first period with the time of possession and the shots. It's my man Sheldon. Oh no, my man Sheldon. It's getting
and also too
under that collar behind the bench for my guy Sheldon.
The one thing that truly stands out on this list, okay, is that you have your wins. You have wins in overtime, okay, losses in overtime, and then your losses. So if you look at the Leafs here, right, 13 regulation wins, right, compared to 8 overtime wins. Yeah, oh shoot, but you know what I mean, right? I'll just bring it back.
They're amongst the league's worst in regulation wins.
It's unbelievable. 13 wins in regulation this year. And then speaking about too, like the 5 I think it was 4 or 5 they were talking about regulation wins they've had were 2 against San Jose, Columbus, Anaheim, and I think the Kings. I could be mistaken. Like that's, I mean, I'll give you the Kings 100%. Like that's a team who's kind of fallen off a little bit, but still they're in a playoff position. You got to get them respect. But it's not like those other teams are doing great.
No,
right?
No. And a lot of that I think has to do with like the way this team's constructed is if the big boys don't score, they don't win. Like, and that part of that is the way Keefe deploys the forwards. Like I was ranting earlier about the lack of minutes for the third line when he had Domi and Robertson on there. But if they don't score, they don't win. And then you've got this blue line that is it's just not talented enough. Like there's no 2 ways around it. Like that's why like I bang the drum for them to move on from Sheldon. But even if you bring Craig Berube in here, yes, he's going to bring some fresh eyes and hopefully they get the new coach bump, whatever. But Simone Benoit's in your top 4.
Yeah.
I mean, that's Scotty Bowman. Scotty Bowman's not doing anything with that. Like I don't care who you bring in.
And I think Benoit is probably a 7th D man. Am I right? Or maybe 6th?
Benoit, the Anaheim Ducks. Listen, and I am not dissing Simone Benoit. I think he's played his heart out this year. He's the exact type of player this market loves. A guy who plays physical, gives it his all, shift in, shift out. Do not want to criticize the guy. But the reality of the situation is the Anaheim Ducks moved off him and we're like, nah, we don't want you. And now he's essentially playing in a top 4 role for the Leafs.
Yeah. It's like, that's where it's gotten to, right?
Yes.
So kind of going off, sorry, I kind of got off track for a second, but looking back at those standings, right? You see all of a sudden, like they were talking about actually on TSN before the game started, where oh, this, like, they saw that Florida and Boston were like within reach, and now all of a sudden they go on this skid. Now all of a sudden you got 5, 6, 7 teams within
Yep.
3, 4, 5 points of each other, and now it makes it really tight. And a lot of these games going forward, specifically against Eastern Conference opponents for you guys, it makes it that much more important.
Yep, 100%. Well, and one of the things about this skid is they've lost these games in regulation. And that's something in the Keefe era. Like, they're on a 4-game loser right now. That's in the Keefe era, that hasn't happened. Like, they've gone on 2, 3 at a time, but they always kind of snap out of it. If they lose this game tonight, that's a 5-game losing streak. That has not happened in the Sheldon Keefe era.
Where's the panic setting if they lose in any sort of fashion tonight? Let's just say, where's the panic set in?
Well, I think it comes, I think, like I said, for me personally, because my expectations are I think are in the correct place. There's no panic. Like, this team entered the season wanting to be considered cup favorites. They are not cup favorites. So if the expectation going in is to be a cup team, that ship has already sailed. The thing that I think that I find really intriguing is how long are Brad Treliving and Brendan Shanahan going to let this go on? Like if you lose tonight, you've lost 5 in a row. You just had the standings up. Other teams are gaining ground on you. How long are you going to let this go? And you've got a window coming up here with, like, if you look at their schedule, they've got a back-to-back this weekend. And then after that, they play the Winnipeg Jets. Then they've got a couple of days off, and they play the Winnipeg Jets on Wednesday and then again on Saturday.
Oh my God.
Then they're off for the All-Star break, right? So you have a window of time here where if you wanted to make a coaching change, you could.
I've got to see the schedule now. That's crazy.
Yeah,
oh my God, that's brutal.
Canucks Saturday, Kraken Sunday, Jets Wednesday, Jets Saturday.
Ouch.
Yes.
That's going to tell you a lot about this is a crucial stretch for this team.
Yes.
Right?
And so, so you're like, but
it doesn't get easier after the break. Go ahead.
No, my point is if this losing streak continues, you do have a window of opportunity here where they have a lot of off days where you could bring in a new coach and they could get up to speed, and you're not throwing them into a middle of a road trip and they're like kind of have to hit the ground running type thing. So to me, that is what I'm most intrigued by, is how long are they going to let this go on? Because if they let it go on for a long time, that tells you all you need to know about where they're at mentally. They're in the same sort of place that I am, which is we entered this season with cup expectations, and we're realizing we are not a cup.
And not to kind of put it more on here, but it looks like Morgan Riley's going to go off for tripping here.
Yep.
As the Flames are back on the power play. They were unsuccessful in their first time around. For Flames fans looking at it, Huberdeau, Kadri, Lindholm, Sharangovich, and Mackenzie Weegar are all out there for this unit, as the Flames have 4:49 to go here in the first, with a chance to go up 2-0 here early on in this game. But again, guys, I appreciate, Rob, you coming on for a bit of this first period. If you guys haven't already, go take a look at Talking Buds on our on THPN. If you haven't, on our socials as well too. And it's Nazem Kadri with the goal.
Boy!
And all of a sudden, the Flames are up 2-0 as Giordano is pissed on the ice. He's not happy, and the Flames go up 2-0.
I gotta tell you, Kyle. This is looking like a team. Like this is reminiscent of the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. This is looking like a team.
Man.
This is looking like a team that doesn't know whether they're coming or going.
Oh my God! The worst thing is Kadri completely missed the shot. It went off of Giordano skating in.
Oh man, Gio. Oh no. You know what, man? When it rains, it pours.
Fanned on it.
Yeah, when it rains, it pours.
Well, hey, on the bright side of things, right? You guys have lost, because you've had the lead. I mean, you're down.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't come back.
Maybe this is a night where they come from behind. Yeah, maybe this is a come from behind victory. Maybe
I don't trust this team with a lead at all.
I told you though, man. I don't think so. This is very Philadelphia Eagle feeling of a team that has just lost all confidence.
But on the bright side, you do have lots of time, right? Like the thing is, you have time, and I think that's something that you have to kind of hold on to here. But yeah, I think in terms of like the stretch here, right? This road trip, how long do they want to wait for? They might just, if this road trip goes south and they get one win here, if you count tonight, for example, right? If they don't win tonight, and let's say in their next four they only get one win, you get the Islanders right after the All-Star break.
Yep.
And that's a team right in the mix too, right? So
I saw something
it's
the
gonna be
other
tough
day
sledding.
that like they have the toughest schedule of all the teams. Like for the second half of the season, their schedule is the toughest.
Well, I mean, just looking ahead, like just glancing over February here, it doesn't look too bad.
No.
You get the Blues a couple of times, you get the Sens, you get the Coyotes.
Yep.
The end of the month is not pretty because you have Vegas twice, you got the Avalanche again.
The Avalanche, the Rangers as you move into March, Bruins
twice.
But then you see the Sabres, and it's like, sure, the Sabres are like one of the weaker teams in the Atlantic Division, but they're a team, like, I always say this about the Sabres and the Sens. I don't care if the Ottawa Senators have not won a game all year. They play the Leafs tough every single time.
Oh, backlit in the post.
Oh,
go in. Oh,
man.
Oh, the lights went off and they thought he scored. Holy smokes. I think it just went off the post and the lights they thought they celebrated a little too early. Look, I like doing these streams because I don't know if you know, I'm about an hour north of Toronto, right? So these games for me are important because my entire family, including like relatives, are all Leaf fans.
Yeah.
So I'll hear about it at the end of the night. Always do. I get like 10 text messages. It's just how it goes. I normally don't care anymore what happens with this team a lot.
Yeah.
But it's these games that I'm like vested in. Like
you get up to play the Leafs. Everybody gets up to play them.
It's just like it's not necessarily like just because of like it's them. It's because of like personal like screw the family kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I get it.
Oh my god, yeah, it's nothing personal, but it's fairly personal to me.
I gotta tell you, Kyle, this is gonna get real interesting. Like if they show no fight here and they just kind of let Calgary run away with this, oh man, it's gonna get warm in Leafs Nation.
Well, the good thing is, and I was a little disappointed too because Markstrom's just day to day, and they started Vladar tonight, but they recalled Dustin Wolf. I don't know if you've heard of. Okay, yeah. So they recalled Dustin Wolf, and I was a little disappointed. I actually wanted him to start tonight because they got this hype around him being like a future really good goaltender, but it's like you're not giving scores. Austin Matthews.
Oh man, that was a good move. See, this is what I mean. You give it. This is what they need. Like this is the team.
Man, the amount of blue that's in that stadium is ridiculous.
Yeah, they travel so well out west.
They do. It was a great move. Just looking at the replay here, looks like just bad play. Matthews threw no real chance for the Dar. Just playing the puck around too much. Couldn't really get it out of our zone. As they were just playing around on their feet. But it was a great move by Matthews. Bring it between, get a shot, and not a lot of chance there for the Dar to stop that.
That's his 35th.
That's his 35th.
That's his 35th. Yeah, that's his 35th.
Holy smokes!
That has by far been like Nylander's first part of the season and how well he played, in Matthews just on an absolute heater from the word go this year have been the two bright spots for sure.
Right. Whenever you see, I just want your opinion on like the bottom six here and that. Whenever you see like the bottom six come out, are you always like nervous whenever you like if you're in a big game, let's say against like Boston or like one of your crosstown rivals and all that, when you see this bottom six as Pospisil is down and he is not looking good. Oh, that looks scary. He's in a lot of pain right now. I missed what happened. I don't know if you saw it. I completely missed what happened. As he's down, no call on the ice, but I just want to see what the replay was.
Yeah,
it sucks because like for us, Pospisil, like he's been in the AHL for a while, and this year we've been giving a lot of guys chances to kind of prove themselves. And he's a guy that's he's had his moments early on in the season for this team, and he's played well. And then he kind of fell off a little bit, but it's upsetting to see him down. I don't know if he like caught an edge or something. I'm just seeing here. Oh yeah, they just Guys weren't looking at each other. He just tripped and fell right into the boards. That's not pretty. No slew footing there or anything. It's just
No.
it's unfortunate, but hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, might have lost his wind a little bit.
Yeah, because I saw it looked like his skate got between Matthew's skate, and I think they weren't even looking at each other, right? So it's just like it happens.
They're
right?
helping
So
him.
hopefully
They're
he's
helping
okay.
him off. Oh, geez.
Well, I think for this lineup, I don't think they're playing with 13 forwards. So it looks like they're going to be down to 2. Oh, man, the way he fell to the boards, that's not good.
Yeah.
Listen, I played hockey last week, and I fell on, like, the part where, like...
Oh, my God, look at his legs come up like that.
I know. I played last week for pickup, and I fell on my ribs, and when there's, like, not a lot of, like... You have your shoulder pads, and you got your padding here, but there's nothing really on the side. Not fun. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's not
well, if you go out and play pickup for the first time in a while, I did that not too long ago, and like you need an oxygen mask after.
Oh my God! If you haven't,
if
you haven't played in months and you go out and you're like, oh my God, we still have like 25 more minutes. Like,
I know. I know. It is. You are gassed early.
You're
yeah.
Because you think you can go out there and you're like, oh yeah, like I can do this, whatever. I can go a couple hard shifts, right? When I don't know about you, but like for us, it's like you get 2 lines, right? Like 3 guys, and it's like when you go off, like you better be ready to go out there for about 2 to 3 minutes.
Oh yeah, 100%, man.
It sucks. Oh man, Danelle checking in though. Danelle's been with us for a while. What's going on? Good to see you again.
How's it going?
So after you here in the first, again, I got nobody in the third period, so you're more than welcome if you want to come hang out again in the third if you're up for it. Open invitation. I got another guy to fill in the second period, so cool. I'm good there. I just like doing these with other people. I find it like difficult doing it on my own, just because it's like
because you're talking to yourself.
What do I talk about? Like,
well, I got to put the little one down, so
no, it's all good. I completely get it. As we are at the end of the first, and we got some goals though early on. It was an entertaining first period. So
that's a classic Leaf first period. They get outplayed for the period, get outshot, and Austin Matthews scores, and you're only down 1. That is as Leaf of a first period as I've ever seen.
That's right. Well, listen, Rob, thank you again for coming on. Again, invitation's open if you're up for it, if you want to come on again in the third. But I'll give you a second if you'd like to kind of plug the podcast and the socials and whatever you need.
Talking Buds Leaf Show. You can find us on the Hockey Podcast Network, on their website, on all your podcast platforms, on YouTube as well. A couple episodes a week. It's my brother and I who do the show. Our vibe is very much kind of like this, like just 2 guys just sitting around, sort of shooting the breeze, talking about hockey. It's like if you're looking for sort of in-depth stats and numbers breakdowns, like don't know if we're the podcast for you. But if you're just looking for 2 guys who like to laugh and be silly and talk Leaf hockey and don't take themselves or the subject matter too seriously, check us out.
Awesome. Good stuff. Perfect. So we're gonna go to commercial. Guys, in the comments too, if you have any questions for me during the intermission break, we'll have a little bit of time to ourselves. Other than that, Rob, I will let you go. Again, appreciate you coming on. You're more than welcome to come on here again in the third if you want. Cool. But if you don't, I hope you have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, pal.
Awesome. See you, Rob.
You later.
Perfect. And so I think with that, we are at the end of the first period. If you guys want to bring any questions, I got a little bit of time before we'll bring on our next guest here in the second period. We're going to take a quick 3-minute break. And if you guys want to ask in the comments, I will come back and be sure to answer and interact with whatever. And I agree. So if you guys want to comment down below anything, I will be back in about 3 minutes as we continue here tonight with Leafs Flames. Flames currently lead 2-1 here after the first. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Well, that was a fun first period. Appreciate you guys coming back and joining us here. After one, we had our friend Rob from our Talking Buds Leafs podcast with us during the first period. And after one, it is the Flames currently up 2-1 after one here in as they are in Calgary. Again, a little bit of a recap here. It was Sharon Govich early on with a tip in to put the Flames up 1-0. It was Kadri who fanned his second shot, or excuse me, an attempt on the power play that found its way into the back of the net, and then an amazing goal by Austin Matthews to make it a 1-goal game. So currently at the first intermission. Thank you guys again for coming to hang out with us. We do have another guest coming up here in the second period fairly shortly, but I think I haven't really gotten to the comments for most of tonight, so I think I'm a little behind on that, so I should probably catch up with that a little bit. So Danelle was checking in with us early on, and he asked if we saw there was a leak, excuse me, for the Sharks. A new alternate third jersey and the Stadium Series jerseys will be revealed next week. I think a lot of us have been intrigued about what these Stadium Series jerseys will look like. I saw the Lightning brought out their alternate, I don't know if it's their third jersey, their alternate, but anyway, it had like the pirate logo with the cross swords. I think it's different. I think it looks all right. Would I buy it? Probably not. Maybe, I don't know. I'd be intrigued. Maybe I'm curious to see, but I think it's okay. But in terms of this one, I'm curious to see what the Sharks jerseys over the years, in my opinion, I think have been pretty good for the most part. So I'm curious to see what those alternates look like, and I'm also curious to see what the Stadium Series jerseys look like too, as well. Ryan will ask who we think is better, and we can bring it open to everybody here in the chat if we think who's having maybe the better year, if it's the Sens or Leafs, or who overall is better. I mean, I think right now, and I saw there was a what was it? Not a news article, but something broke early on about Tarasenko in the Senators, and I'll bring that up in a second. The Leafs are still having a better season. They've had a better year for the last at least couple of years compared to what the Senators have done. And speaking of the Senators, they obviously haven't had the type of year that they have had up to this point. And the reason for that being now is that all of a sudden, Vladimir Tarasenko, they were showing it there on TSN early on before the game started here. Vladimir Tarasenko moved his no trade clause has now been waived. So it now means that Tarasenko will more than likely be moved. He only signed a 1-year deal with the Senators, and he will more than likely get moved to hopefully a cup contending team. So I'm a little sad that the Senators didn't have a great kind of year to start, and we'll kind of see how their year goes. Eventually after the deadline, once maybe they sell a couple of assets and see how they can kind of rebuild that going into next year. But it wasn't the only game. This isn't the only game that's been happening tonight. RJ has been very kind enough to show us other scores going around the league. So I thought we kind of update that too as well. Don't really know what happened in my background there, but listen, we had a lot of snow here near Toronto, and I think the power internet's been screwing everything up. Not to say that this is any fault, but you know what? Things happen, and that's okay. I'll just bring it back. So yeah, just mentioning here, RJ just kind of showed us there. The Tampa Bay Lightning won tonight 7-3 in a slaughtering of the Minnesota Wild early on. So unfortunate there. Again, guys, I'll be bringing up my next guest here soon in just a moment. Just going to rally through a couple of these real quick. So yeah, again, the Lightning wins 7-3 in that one. The Flyers again continue their streak as they go up. They win 5-1 against a very good Dallas Stars team. So congrats to Philly on a good win tonight. Speaking of the Senators, they did end up winning tonight as well, too, 6-2 the final in that one. Big matchup tonight between the Avalanche and the Bruins. The Bruins came out on top in that one. They were winners 5-2 in that ballpark there as well. The Sabres managed to get back on track with a big win over the Blackhawks, 3-0 tonight in a shutout win. The Capitals continue to push for a playoff spot. They win 5-2 over the Blues. And the Oilers' 12-game win streak is in jeopardy a little bit as the Kraken do lead 2-0 in that one there. Danelle has a question for me too, but before I get to that, guys, I think it's time to bring on our second guest for this second period. I believe Rob will be back with us in the third, but with that being said, we're going to bring on Alan AB from Caniac Sessions. I appreciate it as always because last minute things changed, and we had Peter who happens to live nearby me, and we've had a bunch of snow up here, and it's screwed up all the internet and power, and so unfortunately he couldn't make it tonight. But I appreciate the last minute reach out, and I'm happy to have you on.
Yeah, appreciate it. I haven't really watched a Canadian game this year. So this is the first
First
time
time for
I've
me.
seen the Flames in Toronto play. So I watched some of the first
Yeah.
period and I was pretty impressed. So yeah, I
Well,
can't wait to
so I was
watch
going to
it.
ask I was just going to quickly ask, I was just going to kind of finish up the comments afterwards, but your quick thoughts on the first period.
So Toronto is a shell of themselves because you expect Toronto to come out firing the way they showed. They have so much star power, but the Flames have had a bit of a rocky start, and they've had rocky starts in the past. Ever since Kachuk got traded, it seems like this team has definitely taken a little bit of a 180. Huberdeau is not the player that I think you and a lot of Flames fans expected.
We know.
So, so but yeah, it definitely looked good to see a bunch of Flames players playing very well, and same with Toronto. But Austin Matthews is Austin Matthews for the Maple Leafs.
And
I
the
can't
goal that he
believe he
scored
already has
tonight.
35 goals already, and we're not even we're probably halfway done through the season. So yeah, but the power
And
play
the
looked
goal he
good.
scored. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, no,
yeah,
I
the
was just gonna
goalie
say, like,
scored
the goal
for
he
him.
scored was
Yeah.
sensational. Yes, it was a great
So
goal.
everybody looks good. I'm really watching one guy specifically because I really want the Hurricanes to trade for him.
Okay.
Uh, so I'm really watching Elias Lindholm right now, former
Yeah,
Hurricane.
and
So
we
hopefully,
were
yeah.
sure. And it's funny because he's been linked to a couple of teams. Early on, he was linked with Boston, and he was also linked with Colorado. The reason why he was linked with Colorado was because of potential Elias Lindholm, Bowen Byram type package. I don't know what it would look like. I don't know if Colorado would even bite for that. But yeah, I mean, it's potential too. I mean, for Carolina, we'll see what kind of needs that they need as well. And maybe we'll kind of get into that. But I just wanted to quickly catch up on the comments here. And I wanted to I mean, it's a question for me, but it's kind of for all of us here. As Danelle just wanted to ask, though, if we like the All Star jerseys, and he thinks that the ugliest jerseys he's ever seen, thanks to Justin Bieber for ruining them. I think they look like a bunch of cereal boxes, to be quite frank, the design of them. I'm not the biggest fan. I know a lot of people have been very opinionated about them. So my 2 cents is that I think they could be better. I'm going to put that very lightly. But what do you think of them?
So there's a restaurant in in the United States called Carl's Jr. Hardee's,
Yep.
and I'll see if I can pull up a
Oh, and like the
picture.
font looks like, yeah,
See if it'll
I know
focus
what you
in.
mean. Yeah, you're right. It
So
does kind of look like that.
exactly when I saw it, I was like, "This looks so familiar." But yeah, in my opinion, those have to be the worst jerseys that I've seen. I think they would belong in Vegas a little bit better, but Toronto, like, really, that doesn't make any sense. So
It
yeah,
doesn't
they're
work.
not pretty at all.
It doesn't work. And I think they were showing too, like the names would be like the name tags will be under the number. It just the whole thing just looks so weird, and I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me really. So yeah, I don't get it.
It's bubble
We
letters,
had
is what it looks like. Bubble letters.
right.
Yeah.
It's strange. We had Ryan Godding earlier ask just before he came on who we think is better overall, just like the Ottawa Senators or the Leafs.
Mhm.
Brought up the fact that Corpusal is the only tender because of groin injury, or they also have Anton Forsberg as well. So, in your estimation, I know this. I know the Leafs have had a better season compared to the Senators over the last couple of years. But maybe a better question to ask now that, excuse me, Rylan brought that up. I thought it was Ryan. My apologies. A better question to ask might be who's got the better future going forward? Would it be the Senators or would it be the Leafs?
I honestly think it definitely has to be the Senators. Now, hear me out. The Senators have a lot more younger talent, and Toronto has great talent. I mean, they have Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, William Nylander, Morgan Riley. Nick Robertson is definitely a really promising prospect, but they're dumping so much money into those players that I just listed that they're forgetting about so many other pieces to the team. And when
Right.
you look at a team like, I don't know, if you look at Colorado, if you look at Vegas, you look at Carolina, you look at New York, it's spread out. And Nylander just signed that $11 million contract. Do I think it was an overpay? Yes. However,
Yeah.
the Senators have Kachuk, they have Stützle, they have Sanderson, they have Shabbat, and now Korpisalo is their goaltender, and Forsberg obviously is injured. But they have a lot more promising. They're in a
Upside.
lot better, a lot better position than the Leafs are, because the Leafs are in win now mode. The Senators are kind of there, but it's like, if we don't perform, that's okay. They still have a lot of opportunity to grow, and I definitely think in the next 3 years they're going to be super dangerous.
And I mean, just looking at the cap front, me and Rob were looking at it in the first period for the Leafs. It's next year is going to be pretty brutal for them, because the fact that they have 4 guys they're paying, I think it was over, $10.9 million is the lowest out of the 4 guys, right? That being Mitch Marner, and then the rest are 11 million, 11 and a half, and then Matthews' $13 million contract. And that's not even including Morgan Riley's $7.5 million. So it's crazy to me what that situation is going to look like this offseason. And I think everybody's eyeballs are going to be on what the Leafs do, because nobody has seen this type of cap situation in a very long time. So I agree. I think the Senators do have an upside, because I mentioned it just before you came on too, because they kind of broke it a little bit on TSN, but Tarasenko actually waived his no movement clause for the Senators. So now I believe Tarasenko is probably going to get moved. The Senators might get maybe 2 picks out of that. I don't know what the package would look like or where he would go in the first place, but they'll get some package out of it. And I think, like, with the picks and the prospects, like you just mentioned there too, I think the Senators have a better future than what the Leafs might have, even though they do have the core 4.
Yeah, so let's not forget Tarasenko actually had a deal in place to go to Carolina, and he had some problem with his agent, and stuff went through, and now he's part of the Senators. But like you said, he moved his trade clause, so maybe Carolina goes out and grabs him, because we definitely need all the help we can get. So that's something interesting that you pointed out that I just remembered.
And I actually forgot about that there was supposed to be a deal that went through with Carolina in the first place, and then all of a sudden, it fell through. So maybe just the timing now fits right for Carolina just to add another piece in case they want to make a run this postseason, right? And they seem to be in a position where they'll probably lock down a playoff spot come late March, as we are about to get underway here in the second period here, as it is the Flames currently up 2-1, heading into the second period here. Again, just to mention, the Leafs on a 4-game losing streak. Calgary, amazingly, is on a 4-game winning streak. Don't ask me how, but it's just been working that way. I hate it with every fiber being in my body, but that's a story for another day, or it could be a story for tonight, as we were getting set here for the second period here. So you mentioned you're looking at Elias Lindholm, specifically being a Hurricanes podcast, and you want to see how he plays in the link. What do you think Lindholm would bring to a team like Carolina, or what do you see in Lindholm even right now playing with the Flames that you just happen to like out of him?
I think Elias Lindholm, when he played for Carolina originally, he had a very crisp shot. His wrist shot's very good. His slap shot's very good. And the Hurricanes do not have a right-handed centerman. And that's another big problem. And our second line center has been a question mark. We've had Kokoniemi. He's been on and off. And, we just haven't really established a second line center. And I feel like with Elias, to especially have that right-handed center for faceoffs, because when we had Vincent Trocheck and he went to the New York Rangers, we've definitely been missing a lot for faceoffs. So that's what I really look for, and a guy that can run the second power play unit and is just reliable. So that's what I'm really interested in. And we were also talking about on our podcast a couple of days ago, Jacob Markstrom, maybe a little package deal for Markstrom and Lindholm.
I'll tell you right now, he's probably okay. So 2 things. So Markstrom, they've made it clear as he's probably not going to get moved. Although we like it. I mean, we like the idea of him getting moved and getting a really good deal out of it. He does have a no movement clause, and there's a lot of moving parts that have to go in that process, so it probably won't work. And then the other thing is that there's been pickup talks with Hanifin about an extension, so it does seem like it's trending in the direction of an extension. But in terms of guys that we're probably going to move at the deadline, I would imagine Lindholm goes. I think Tanev will be gone too. I feel like I'm missing somebody. No, I think that's it. Yeah, I imagine the two of these guys will probably go, but then again, I don't know what this organization's doing. So
Let me ask you this, because
Sure.
you're a big Flames fan. When Kachuk was moved out, you have Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar. I really like Mackenzie Weegar. You obviously
Me
see
too.
the potential, and you know what they're capable of. But do you see more upside from both of those guys, or is it just kind of in the middle? You're not 100% sure.
In Uyghur and Kadri?
Weegar and Huberdeau.
Oh, sorry, Uyghur and Huberto, right, from the trade. Right. So when they sign their contracts, I think only one can hope that Huberto finds some foot, even if he just stays at a level of consistency, because it is a really bad contract. If he can stay at a level of consistency for the next couple of years, we'll take it, right? Like, it is what it is. It's the deal's done. Like, you can't do anything about it now. And I doubt that you can move the contract years down the line anyway. The one bright spot, though, is that in this 4-game winning streak, and even the last couple of weeks, he's been paired up with Elias Lindholm and Igor Sharangovich, who's got a goal tonight. That line seems to be working really well now all of a sudden. So that's something that Flames fans have been very happy with. And they're starting to see more production out of Huberdeau from that. I mean, he got the assist. He's got 2 assists tonight already. So,
Oh, wow.
and he's been doing really well actually on the power play. So I'm giving him some credit that he's been playing well as of recent. So for Huberdeau, I think, once he kind of finds his guys to play with and mesh really well with, he just needs to find guys who can score, right? And if Sharangovich if this is the way it's going to keep going, then great. And then on the other side of it with Uyghur, I love the deal that he signed in that offseason at the time. I think it was, what was it, 6 or 7 years at, I don't know what the price range was. I can't remember off the top of my head. But regardless of what it was, I think I was overall very happy with it, just because he's a reliable defenseman. You need some reliable D-man in this league. He showed it in Florida where he's able to put the puck in the net. He was an offensive defenseman too. And, he's really honed into this community as well. And I think he's kind of found his home. And he's had a fine year. I think, he's fit well on the power play. And he's really, it took him a little bit because of last year with Daryl Sutter, and we won't get into it. But I really like the way that Uyghur's kind of fit into this lineup, as the Flames are currently on a delayed penalty. The Leafs look like they're going to a power play in a second.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the one team you do not want on the power play. But like you were saying earlier, Tavares has been struggling.
Scores doesn't matter. No power play anyway. And look, Nylander fed Matthews, and we are tied at 2. It was a good shot. Wow.
Yeah, I'm far behind. I'm far behind you.
I got cable. That's
probably why.
Nylander fed it to Matthews on the far right. No real chance. It sucks too. I mean, it was on delayed penalty, right? So, I mean, you kind of like just let it happen. And I told Rob when we were up 2-0 at the time, I'm like, this game isn't over yet. You don't know. You have no idea. Just seeing it here again on the replay, Nylander had a shot, can't get it out, right back to Matthews. No chance for Vladar, as Matthews with both goals tonight, as all of a sudden we got a tie game 2-2. And I mean, if to give you some insight on the last time that these two teams played, if you don't remember at all, if you recall, the Leafs were up 4-1 at home, and it seemed like it's over. Like, halfway through the second period, this game seemed like it was going to be over. Flames found a way to come back, tied at 4. They go into a shootout, and it was a very intense overtime too. But the Leafs came away after like 5 or 6 rounds in the shootout and came away with that one. So if we know anything about this game, it's probably going to be a high-scoring game, because you got Martin Jones in on one side and you got Daniel Vladar in on the other. So it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this about the Maple Leafs, man. Their fans travel. I see a bunch of Maple Leafs fans, and I'm from Raleigh, so there are a ton of Maple Leafs fans. I don't know if they like take off the Canes jersey and put on the blue jersey when they come into town, but they travel, man. Like, this is a very dedicated fan base. It's just sucks, just a little fire a shot that they haven't really done anything in the past 20 years.
Is that something that you've noticed when you go to Hurricanes games, when you go there and all of a sudden, like, there's just blue jerseys everywhere?
Yeah, 100%. The worst is the Rangers. The Rangers will like fill
Okay.
up 50% of the arena.
Wow.
So and especially Pittsburgh because it's so close to North Carolina. But I mean, how
Mm.
far is Toronto from Calgary?
It's about a 4-hour flight.
Okay, well, yeah, well,
Yeah.
there's definitely some fans, dedicated, and yeah, I mean, there are a ton of blue jerseys, and this team has a lot of promise, and so does Calgary, but we'll just
And I
really
mean,
see what
like,
happens.
so as well too, like I've been to this stadium. I've been in the Saddle Dome 5 times now in my lifetime. Um, God, they need a new arena. It's so bad. It's really, really bad. Like there's a bathroom on this corner of the arena, and there's bathrooms on this corner of the arena, and that's pretty much it.
Wow.
It's not great. It's in desperate need of an upgrade, and I think they are planning on building a new arena soon. But because I think it's now the oldest arena in the league, I think either that or it's MSG, one of the two.
Ye I think it's Madison Square Garden, yeah,
It
because 'cause
might
they've
be
been around for,
MSG.
like,
Okay, well,
yeah, but I mean, yeah, what you just told me, yeah, that's a for some reason, I didn't realize this till like a year ago. I didn't
mhm.
realize that the arena was shaped like a saddle. I always had wondered, like, why was it called the Saddle Dome? I was like, it's a very random thing. And then finally it showed a picture of it. I was like, oh, but
As a
yeah,
kid growing up, I was probably in the same boat, realizing that, and then you're kind of like, "Ah, yeah, that makes sense." Yeah, no,
There are a
it's
lot of arenas that need to be updated in the NHL, and the PNC arena is and we got a little bit of a tussle in the the Maple Leaf side
yeah,
of the
a little
bench.
bit. I think they're bringing Greer in.
Oh boy.
Are they bringing in? Yeah, so they're bringing both guys in. Benoit in and AJ Greer in for the Flames. It looks like it's going to be 4-on-4. It looks like it's going to be 4-on-4 for 2 minutes. We get some 4-on-4 action. We love some good 4-on-4 action.
Oh yeah,
Bringing up
Benoit
some of
just
the
opened
other,
the door for him.
I know, I know. Um, so I wanted to bring up because I brought it up with, excuse me, with Rob in the first period, and we'll kind of see what happens here on this 4-on-4. But I wanted to bring up the standings because I can do that on this site, and I'm very excited. Um, there's the Flames, middle of the pack, right there in the West. Great. But I wanted your take too. I can't change it like in terms of the wild card. Like
Yeah.
it's the way it is. I can't do anything about it.
Hmm.
But in terms of it kind of works out in a way because they've updated it actually. So as of right now, the Lightning did win earlier tonight. And they are now at geez, okay. They are now at 51 points, right? The Leafs
Hmm.
now hold the final wild card spot. And if they don't win tonight, I think the Capitals actually won as well. So the Capitals
Hmm.
might be leapfrogging the Leafs tonight if they don't win. Um, and you can kind of see, like, you take Detroit, for example, all the way down to, let's say, New Jersey, right? Between 6th and 12th, you got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams that are within 4 points of each other. So I think, like, going into the back half of this season, it's going to be very interesting going forward with the Eastern Conference and how it kind of shakes out, right? Because there's a lot of teams that are close together. Your Hurricanes are kind of in the mix too, a little bit above though, right? A couple points above. Um, it's going to be a tight race, and things can change just like that. What are your thoughts on the race in the Eastern Conference as the months kind of dwindle down to the playoffs?
I believe the Metro division is the hardest division in the NHL because, like you just showed in those standings, those four teams fighting for that wild card spot, all of them were in the Metropolitan division. So, yeah, right now, especially divisional opponents for any team, Eastern or Western, you have to win games because the minute you slack off is the minute another team trailing right behind you can easily step up. So it's definitely going to go back and forth. I love the competition. So everybody kind of needs to be realize where they're at right now, especially
Mhm.
any single team, and realize that you can't really lose really important games. You have to win to get into the playoffs, and it doesn't matter if you have a wild card spot or you win the President's Trophy or like a top 3 seed. All that matters
Right.
is you get in and then it restarts.
It's going to be a tight race, and I think it's going to be the same case again this year for and I think you'll probably find that after the All-Star break, that's when teams really start to separate, because guys will take a much needed break, they'll have fresh legs, and then they'll get going right away, right? So that's where we feel like the separation could potentially be. We have another question coming in though from Danelle. Again, it's to me, but I'll bring it to the floor here. Do you like the NHL All-Star jerseys? Yeah, we already mentioned it early on, Danelle, but that's okay. Going back to it, just to recap, yeah, we did think they're pretty ugly, and they look like the Carl's Jr.'s logo from in the U.S. That was the sum of that. So, but anyway, if you guys have any more questions or anything like that, please feel free to put it down in the comments. More than happy to answer it for you. As they're just in commercial break real quick, because I don't believe anything was really happening on the 4-on-4 there. So I know we have. I think this is the last weekend before the All-Star break, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds right.
I think. Or there might be like one more weekend and then the All-Star break. I could be wrong. But just wanted to update people on just kind of games across the league again real quick. You got the Kraken and the Oilers currently tied 2-2, so the Oilers fighting their way back in it. Predators and Kings right now are facing off in the first. The Canucks are hosting the Coyotes right now. The Rangers are starting their road trip. They're currently in Vegas. And again, just quickly mentioning early on too that the Flyers are winners 5-1, Boston winners 5-2, and it looks like the Leafs are 4-on-3 right now. Oh, I missed something then. For 20 seconds, they're 4-on-3, and then I think a power play is going to come up here real quick. I'll finish here just real quick. The Bruins and Avalanche played tonight in a big match. Bruins were winners 5-2. The scores. Damn it. It's Mitch Marner. Oh, I can't get through it or was it Nylander? I don't know. I think it was Marner as the Leafs scored 3 unanswered and all of a sudden find themselves up 3-2. That's 3 goals on 14 shots on Daniel Vladar, and it was Mitch Marner as the Leafs lead 3-2.
Wow. I just saw the goal. Collapse. You can't really do this.
Doesn't help. I mean, the 2 goals, it's not going to help when you put this Leafs team an extra man up. It's just, you're not going to win that battle. And, if you want to beat this team, you have to stay out of the box because, as soon as you put them on the power play, they're one of the toughest teams to beat in terms of being them on the power play and the whole unit there. So,
out of this
I gotta tell you though.
Oh, go ahead.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say, if there's one guy that really pisses me off in the league, and I don't mind the Leafs for the most part, because I got a bunch of family that are Leafs fans, and I'm getting text messages as we speak. The one guy that really pisses me off is Mitch Marner. He's the one guy that really upsets me. I don't think he deserves his money, number one. And I'm very curious to see what his contract's going to be. But just the way he acts, like every time he scores the goal, he thinks it's the biggest goal in the goddamn world. And he makes a big fuss about it. And then he goes in the media the other day, right? Because they're on this 4-game losing streak, right? And he goes, oh, whatever, it's not a big deal. Like, it is what it is, right? Because with this Leafs team, the guys who made their money don't care. And I think it's clearly evident. And then all of a sudden when they go on a losing streak, it's like, oh, I guess we have to go try. Guess we got to go score, right? So, I mean, there's some parts of this team that really bugs me. I still think this Leafs team can find a way into the playoffs because, like we just saw, they're like on the power play unit, like they're a man up. They're very difficult to beat, but there's a lot of guys who just play for themselves individually, and it's this top 4 again that's been showing.
Yeah, the guy who's really frustrates me, not Mitch Marner, but it's Jacob Trouba. That's the guy that I don't like. But as for obvious reasons. But yeah, I can definitely, like you were saying, I can definitely tell that it really doesn't look like they're trying to win for these guys that are making a ton of money. They're making a ton of money
for the team. Yeah,
and they're worried about a lot of sponsorships. I've seen, a lot of those big guys, do sponsorships.
For sure.
A lot of them aren't really fighting for their team. And you look at teams like Pittsburgh and Washington, and they have some old guys that are making a lot of money, but I mean, they're in it for the team. So yeah, I do get what you're saying. And maybe that's why the Leafs haven't been successful in the past 20 years. But yeah, I think every every single team needs to have a sense of urgency to win games and to not just play for the name on the back of the jersey, but play for the name on the
For the
front.
name on the front, man. Absolutely. Excuse me, Andrew just bringing in a question here. Do you think Coleman or Markstrom should be all-stars instead of Lindholm? It's a good question. Because you kind of have to go. I mean, for me, the All-Star game's silly at the end of the day, right? Because I think the fans, if you ask an entire fan group, right, of hockey fans about that, like specifically this question, they're probably going to say Lindholm at the end of the day, right? Because at the All-Star game, it's the stars, right? It's the Matthews. It's the, just taking the Leafs here, for example, because we're watching them. It's the Matthews. It's the Nylander. It's the McDavids. It's the Crosbys. It's, the list goes on, right? Like it's truly the all-stars. In terms of the way they performed, yeah, I don't know. I think Markstrom's been good. I don't know how he's been compared to other goalies in the Pacific Division this year, or however they did the voting this year. But yeah, I think Markstrom could make a case that he could be an all-star. I don't know if it's true at the end of the day. Coleman's been having a career year, and I'm so happy that he's been playing really well. As much as I think he could be an all-star, there's no way that the fans would let him in because in their eyes, he's just not a star in the league, right? He just so happens to be having a career year. He's just been like in the late stages of his career as well. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was definitely shocked. Coleman has like 20 goals already, doesn't he?
He
So, I mean,
does.
that's
He does.
very impressive. Coleman's always been a fourth line guy, but definitely when he went to Tampa, now in Calgary, he's definitely stepped up his game. The All-Star voting, I think, is a silly thing because it
It is.
really all matters about market. And, I don't know what it was, but Toronto, every team allows, one person voted in to be an all-star. And then, the last couple are fan votes. And I think the Maple Leafs got like 3 other guys nominated when there were
I
plenty of other players that should have been up there.
I think there's about 4 or 5 Leafs that are in the All-Star this year, and I think because Vancouver's had a good year, they've got 4 or 5 guys as well too. I think it's crazy that they have that amount too.
They've
Yeah.
blown me out of the
Um,
water. Their expectations have blown me out of the water. I mean, they're dangerous this year.
they are a good team. Danelle bringing up though a question here. Let me guys ask, what do you guys think of the Leafs? Are they the Cowboys in the NHL? Do you agree or not? So for context, because some of us are hockey fans here, and as myself, I know the way you're reacting, we're football fans too as well. Cowboys were losers over the weekend in the wild card against the Packers. They lost 48-32 as a 2 seed and let a 7 seed for the first time in NFL history advance. So yeah, I mean, I mean, I can't say that though. I don't know. I get the comparison. Don't get me wrong. I really do. I understand the comparison. The problem for me is that if you go back in the 90s, maybe
Mhm.
okay, in if you take the last 10 years, 100%, last 20 years, like during the 2000s decade, yeah, I got you, right? But if you go back to the 90s and the 80s and the 70s, like the Cowboys were you know, they were an amazing team, right? Like they're the reason why they're worth $9 billion as an organization. The Leafs
They're
haven't
worth
done
$9
anything
million?
since, excuse me, $9 billion. Thank you. $9 billion. But again, like the Leafs haven't won 667, and they hadn't won beforehand. They hadn't won a round since 2004, right? At least with the Cowboys, even in the 2000s to 2010s, and even now era, like they've at least won some playoff games, despite it being 1 game compared to 7. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, like you said, I wouldn't compare them to the Maple Leafs because like you said, the Cowboys were dominant, whether, it was Troy Aikman or Michael Irvin. If you watch
Emmett
football,
Smith, yeah.
yeah, Emmett Smith, Deion Sanders, you definitely understand what me and Kyle are talking about. But I no, because the Maple Leafs have been, I don't even think they're Canada's team. And they're just not good.
I would probably argue that they are Canada's team. I would probably argue that. It just in terms of that, there's so many Leaf fans that travel, and whenever they play a Canadian team, you can see it here. They're in Calgary, and like you can see so many blue jerseys here. It's
Mhm.
crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely say that the Maple Leafs are probably worse than the Cowboys because yes, they're both very, very popular and very well known, but one of them has had more success than the other team. So yeah, it's just one of those things where you can't really compare football to hockey. But yeah, I don't think that they're on the
The
same
Cowboys have had
tier.
more success,
Yeah.
right? Because of the structure of that league. It's so hard getting into the playoffs, right? Like, and people are forgetting, like, there was a stretch of like between like 2005 and what was it, 2013, where the Leafs never made the playoffs. And then like
Mhm.
whatever, for a couple more years they didn't make the playoffs, and then they still hadn't won a first round series. So it's like the Cowboys have actually had quote unquote success, right? Obviously, not making to an NFC championship game is a different story, but they've had success, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, 100%. It's just one of those things where it's how you identify success. Success to me is winning games and making it past, the first round.
At least
So,
around.
at least a round. So, but it's definitely
Yes,
harder in football because you only have one chance. In
correct.
hockey, you have multiple chances in the playoffs. So,
You
yeah,
got it.
so that's what I have to say about that whole thing. So, yeah.
And Danelle kind of just as we backtrack a little bit here, but he was just mentioning like, yeah, there are way too many players as we can see at the All Star game, and it's probably the reason why I've never taking an interest in the All Star game in the first place. I just
Mhm.
as by the way, Flames are on the power play here. Forgot to mention that. Yeah, in terms of like the All Star game, I'm not. It's for the kids. We all know it at the end of the day. It's for the kids, right? The kids might like the jerseys, and you know what? That's all that matters at the end of the day because that's all who it's for, right?
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate that they did. I get why they left it up to the fans and the voting, but the problem with that is like if I'm a Seattle Kraken fan, right, compared to my buddy who's a Leafs fan, right,
Mhm.
you compare the two communities, of course you're going to get more votes for the Leafs than you are the Kraken, right? You
Mhm.
compare the Leafs to the Golden Knights, of course you're going to get more votes for the Leafs than the Golden Knights, right? It's you compare it to the size, right? Um, I don't know, compare like if you compare, however, between the Flames and the Hurricanes, just as an example here, it might even out. Like you might get one or two. Like it might get evened out. I don't know what it would be, but again, like I think in terms of like the high value teams in the league, like the Leafs or whoever happens to be the hottest team in the NHL, you take the Canucks, for example, who've done really well all year, they're clearly going to get more votes.
Mhm, mhm, and it's
Yeah.
definitely harder for a lot of teams in the South to get a lot of votes, is what I've noticed, because when you think hockey, you don't think like North Carolina or Florida or
You
Texas.
don't scores again.
Who just
Sorry to
scored?
interrupt. Austin Matthews just got his third goal, and the Hats are on the ice. And all of a sudden, Leafs lead 4-2. Gets his 11th career hat trick. That is his fourth this season. Leafs go up 4-2.
Wow. So he's got 37 on the year. Good
But
lord.
you know what's funny is that as I'm watching this game, nothing's still impressing me about this Leafs team.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
just it's just what we've known all along, right? Like, and again, if the Flames lose tonight, thank God. I'm so happy that they lose. Like, I have no problem if they
Wait,
do.
why?
But because we need a top 10 pick this year, because I mentioned it to Ryan in the first period that with the Monahan trade that we sent him over to Montreal,
Mhm.
we have to finish in the bottom 10 of the league in order to keep the first round pick. If we don't, we give the
Oh.
pick to Montreal. So
Ooh.
yeah, so I'm like, okay, I think we need to lose this year. Which is why, like, let's sell some assets. They are actually looking at the call here to see if it's a good goal. I don't see any reason why we get overturned. Real quick though, and then I'll kind of go back to the comments though, and I apologize for interrupting you. Um, and I want your 2 cents on this too, because I think this Leafs team, like, this doesn't surprise me, right? It's Matthews scoring the goals, right? It's the big four contributing, right? When they go on the power play, that's who they have out, right? And when they aren't contributing, this team isn't good. And we saw that in the first period when the Flames were up 2-0. What do you think?
Yeah, I will say this: Maple Leafs fans could come after me. Besides the top four, there is no
I
talent
get it
on
all the
this
time.
team. I mean, there's no talent on this team. Yeah, all of the goals are from Matthews, Marner, Nylander, assists from Riley. Obviously they have some good players, but like all of their goals have just been sweet passes to Matthews, and Matthews
Does the work.
90% of the time does the work. So yeah, they just haven't really impressed me face-offs, defensive wise. They're just the only guys are those top four that really stick out. And I'm surprised that they're even up 4-2 because the way that they're playing, they shouldn't even be in the lead right now.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's this team is not surprising anybody, right? And it's like you're on a 4-game losing streak. I'm getting messages flying through now from family members because, it's the Leafs, right? And again, nothing is surprising me with this team. Like I don't get it, right? It's like this, okay, you're getting all that, but it's like come playoff time, you're going to need more than just those guys. And we've seen it too many times in the past. I didn't want to remiss because I know Andrew commented here as well. I find I don't mind the Leafs as a team. I just don't really like their fans. Like where I live, they're everywhere. And when I wear my Flames wear, they have to tell me the team sucks. Well, I mean, Andrew, I'm about an hour north of Toronto, so I feel your pain. I get it all the time, right? I got probably about 20 family members who are all Leaf fans, and it's the one game of the year. Like we play each other twice, and it's probably the time I pay attention the most because it's just one chance to stick it to them, and if we don't, whatever. But whenever they get a chance to do it, they will. So I've lived with it, and for all my life, and I get it. So it's it doesn't change. It will never change.
Let me ask you this
Man.
question. As a guy
Yeah.
that obviously you want to have a top 10 pick for the Flames.
Yep.
In order for that to happen, in order for, to clear some cap space, if you get that top 10 pick and, you sign some free agents, who are you getting rid of?
At the deadline or
Yeah.
at the deadline? I'd like to get rid of Lindholm. I think
Or,
he's gonna be a
just
high
free
value.
agency.
Free agency. I mean, if I go, I can quickly look at cap friendly on my side because I have to remind myself what's happening. But yeah, I think in terms of like the deadline, real quick, I would imagine that just quickly looking at it, Lindholm, he's got his last year on a $4.8 million deal. He's going to get a big extension in the offseason by somebody, whoever decides to take him. I think it's time for that ship to go. I think the ship has kind of sailed on his time here in Calgary. So I really hope that he gets dealt at the deadline, and I want some good assets back, right? And I think that's what this team wants. Same thing for Tanev too. I still think you can get a decent chunk for Tanev. Uyghur's locked in at $6.2 million for the next 6 or 7 years or whatever it is, and I love every second of that deal. Talks of Hannafin getting an extension. A lot of younger guys trying to come up. What else do we got here? You got Dylan Dubé, who has been probably the worst player in the league, and I can't even stress that enough. He has been the worst player. He's got
What's his contract?
He's in his last year on a $2 million deal, and I guarantee you he will not be playing with this team next year because there's too many guys in our system who deserve a better chance, right? So Dubé has, just quickly looking here, I get messages from family members who I talk to like once or twice, 3 times, 4 times a year.
Yeah,
and it's like, go Leafs, go. I know, it's like, God damn it. Like, but if I look at Dubé, okay, the right one here. He's been atrocious this year. He's been nothing short of garbage. He has played 42 games this year, so basically the same amount as everybody else, and he's got 2 goals to show for it. 3 goals, excuse me.
Wow.
So you wonder what kind of goals they were, whether they were empty netters or not. He's been really bad, and you kind of hope, that I'm even thinking at the deadline, if we can just get rid of him and get a pick out of it, great. I'm fine with that too. Yeah, he's got to go too as well. Danelle's asking AB a question here, though. He asked
Oh
me it
boy.
earlier, and I think it's appropriate. He wants to know what you think of they're leaking soon. I don't know if it's leaked already or they're going to be leaking it. The Sharks alternate third jersey. What are your thoughts on them potentially leaking one?
So I have seen some images leaked of what it would look like. And obviously, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a huge circle and it's the dorsal fin of a shark. And it's black.
Oh.
Uh I I I think the Sharks have really good home jerseys. I like that they kind of moved away from like the darker green is aqua color and black to kind of just a
Mhm.
aqua color and the white stripe. But yeah, I could definitely see them doing an alternate jersey. It's just, do I like the logo? Not really. I would definitely, like do something a little bit, maybe a little throwback of something because uh, I understand, teams are trying to get, new jerseys and new kind of logos, but I mean, I just know the Sharks.
Sorry, they did release it?
No, I saw a leak of it. I saw a leak of it. Did they already
Oh,
release
okay.
it?
Sorry. I don't know. I didn't know if you knew already, like you
No, no,
saw
no,
it.
no, 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 no. So, yeah, I, all I think of with the Sharks is just the shark biting the hockey stick. That's really all I know the Sharks for. I don't know
Yeah.
what kind of alternate element that they could bring to their jersey. I mean, what do you think?
I said it earlier in the stream. I actually think I've been a big fan of the Sharks alternate jerseys and kind of what they've done over the years.
Hmm.
Um, I actually don't mind it. I've quite enjoyed their jerseys so far.
Hmm.
And I have no reason to suspect that it could get worse. I think they have very nice colors that what they accommodate with. I overall actually kind of like it. Danelle just quickly mentioning too that he believes the Sharks are using their shoulder patch as the crest. Oh, so they get the
Yeah,
fin up. Okay, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
you work in the color there. I think it works. Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind it. Again, mentioning early on too, the Rangers and the Golden Knights are playing as well. The Golden Knights currently up 2-0 in the first, as I would imagine you're going to be very happy with that result
Very
there if that
happy.
holds up. Andrew mentioning too, just our conversations here about Dubé and Lindholm. I think Dubé and Lindholm out and Coronado up. I would love to have that because Coronado does not belong in the farm team this year. My opinion, we need to get rid of Ladar, sign a more depth defenseman player, and bring Wolf up as a backup. Um, I was very sad to hear that when Markstrom, he just got day to day and they called Wolf up for, emergency purposes or whatever
Hmm.
the case was going to be, how long he was out for. I actually wanted Dustin Wolf to start tonight because he hasn't been given enough chances to really truly evaluate him. If there's a team that, oh, what a chance for Weegar, good save. Um, if there's a team that really needs some help goaltending, right? Like, yeah, okay, maybe you can get rid of Ladar, because I think he has his contract is up for he's got 2 more years on a contract at $2 million. So not a terrible contract, and I think he's had a decent year. But yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do in terms of goaltending, right? Like, there's a lot of teams out there who need it. And, if the value is going to be so high at the deadline, you mentioned Markstrom early on, you got to take your chances on it and get your highest value out of it because you're not a cup contender this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree because if you're trying to, rebuild or, just trying to give these younger guys a shot, you can't take the risk of, re-signing Lindholm and getting or attempting to when he signs with somebody else and not getting anything out of it.
Mhm. That's
He's
right.
definitely a top six forward, and his price is high right now. They can get really good stuff for Lindholm. But yeah, it's one of those things where, you
Sorry
gotta
to
get rid
interrupt.
of them.
I just want to interrupt here real quick because they think Calgary scored here.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Scramble in front of the net. They were waving off. Now they're really talking about it here. I kind of missed it. There was a little bit of a scramble.
Oh, it was the scrum.
Jones had it, and then he didn't have it. I'm going to see the replay here. So Jones doesn't
Mangiapane would
have
be
it.
credited, yeah, or Backlund.
I don't see how that's not a goal. I mean, yeah, I get the kicking motion, but then the puck was still in the crease and it was standing there. Like you had, I think it's Benoit there, but they were fighting for it, and Mangiapane puts it in.
Yeah, I'm
I don't
curious.
understand what's wrong with that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what this replay will show. Here we go. So definitely
Yeah, so
Jones has it, doesn't have possession. It's tipped. It hits off of his skate, and it looks like Liljegren lives
Liljegren,
on it and taps it in his own net.
yeah, because Liljegren stopped it. I don't see why this is not a goal.
I don't even
'Cause
think he
Liljegren, it
stopped it. I
doesn't
think he
matter.
whiffed in a.
Look,
Oh,
if
go
the
ahead.
puck
Sorry.
went in without Liljegren, no, that's okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. When Mangiapane, like, okay, if he kicked it in and it went in, like that's a different story, right? But
Mhm.
if Liljegren stops it, right, or has possession of it, then that's on him, right? Like that's not a shot on net. He technically, like right there, he stops it. I don't foresee why that's not a goal.
Yeah, I think what they're looking at is because it hit Mangiapane's skates twice. But the thing is, when Lindgren he swatted at the puck and he clearly
Right.
made contact and it was on the line and Backlund finished it. So this is going to be a close call. In my opinion, I think it's a good goal. And
I don't
honestly, it
know.
almost passed the line without Backlund even tipping it in. Yeah, it
I don't
passed
know
the
what the
line before
rule
Backlund even touched it.
I don't know what the rule is when you kick it, and like, is it when somebody like has possession of it that kicking motion's like out of play now? Or I don't know. Here, they're gonna come up with a prediction here real quick, or not a prediction, a decision here real quick here. They didn't
I'm
take long, I'll tell you
curious.
that. And we have a good goal.
There
Yeah,
you
I don't
go.
see why that's not a good goal. There we go. Okay, so Mangiapane gets the Flames back in this, down 1, 2 minutes to go here in the second period.
Yeah, there
As
was really. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say Keith is looking for an explanation here.
Well, I mean, there
That's
was
all.
really no way that you could say it wasn't a goal because it clearly looked like it passed the line before Backlund even did anything. So that's
No,
a great call
yeah,
there. And they're within one goal, and it's only the second period.
2 minutes to go. I mean, if Liljegren let that go and the puck went in, like, yeah, I get it. It's a kicking
Hmm.
motion. No way that goes in.
Hmm.
But even then, like Backlund was gonna be right there at the doorstep to just slam it home. Like it's not gonna do anything. So no, I think that's the right call. I think they got it right. As sometimes you need garbage goals, and Mangiapane finds a way to do it. I think they gave the goal to Mangiapane, if I'm not mistaken. Just quickly looking here. Yeah,
I
they gave the
think
goal
so.
Mangiapane and
Yeah.
Backlund with the assists right there. Mangiapane with it. As all right, so we have, like we do in every Flames and Leafs stream, it seems like we got a game.
Signs of life. We'll see what happens here with less than 2 minutes to go.
I mean, if I'm trying to be a positive Flames fan here and wanting this team to make the playoffs, if this goes to overtime, I'll take it. I'll take that. I don't care what the result is. If they can just find a way to get this to overtime, then that's fine. 8 comeback wins when trailing in the third period, tied for the most in the NHL this year. That is the Calgary Flames. So we'll see if the Leafs blow another lead in the third period.
It's very possible they can do it in the
Yeah.
playoffs, so they can certainly do it in the regular season.
And they've done it in their last 4 games. They've had blown leads, I believe, in 3 of their last 4 or all 4 of their games. I can't remember exactly, but they just blew a lead recently to Edmonton. They just did it against the Avalanche. They did it against the Islanders. So, yeah, and it's going to be hanging over their heads going into the third period, and they need to prove that they can hold on to a lead in this tough losing stretch.
What do you think about the Flames' new coach? Because obviously Daryl Sutter was there for a little bit and they had some success. I don't really know a lot about this coaching staff for Calgary, but what are your opinions on the new head coach and the coaching staff?
Yeah, so Huska's been in the he's been in the organization for 5 to 6 years in a primary role as an assistant coach, and kind of throughout the organization in different roles. I think he deserved a shot. I didn't see why not. I think they needed a new voice. I didn't think they needed to go out and search for another head coach. I think they wanted to kind of keep it within the organization. I think he deserved a chance, and they were kind of bashing him early on for the decisions that they were making in terms of lineups and yada yada yada. And I didn't want to judge him early on in the season as second period is just ending up here. I didn't want to judge him early on, but I think as the season's gone on, I think he's got the right message for this locker room. I think he's got these guys really close together. The things that they've kind of done over this season, I've been really happy with from what I've seen. And I think he deserves at least a year or two to kind of prove himself. And I like the position that he's put himself in.
Yeah, so a lot of positives and a lot of really question marks for the Flames.
You got it. That's the way we roll. Andrew quickly saying, too, this might be one and only time I say this, but Oilers are beating the Kraken 3-2 right now. So go Oilers. Hopefully we can grab that wild card from Nashville. So I believe a win tonight for the Flames means they move into a wild card position over Nashville if the Oilers happen to hang on to win tonight. Again, I'd have to look at the standings, and maybe I'll look at that afterwards. But that is the second period, and another goal-scoring affair. It was 2-1 after one, and the Leafs now find themselves up 4-3 going into the third period. So what were your kind of overall thoughts there in the second period?
Toronto is not a playoff team. As simple as that. This game is definitely not what I thought it was going to be. I really thought Toronto was going to dominate and come out strong, but Calgary has come out scrappy, and they've really stuck to their game, and it's just been the Auston Matthews show, and that's pretty much it. Calgary's playing a nice team game, so I'll be interested to see how this third period goes. If I were to predict anything, I'm honestly going to give the 5-4 win to the Flames in overtime.
In overtime, eh? Yeah. I hope so. We'll see what happens, right? But it can honestly go either way. We've seen these kind of games before where they go either way. But I appreciate you coming on. I know it was kind of last minute. It means a lot. Obviously Peter couldn't make it tonight, but again, I appreciate it. And I'll kind of give you a second though to let you have the floor in case you wanted to plug the show and anything else, any sort of events, anything else going on with the show.
Yeah, so you can definitely follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, or listen to us on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, at Caniac Sessions. You can follow me on X at AB Caniac Session. For some reason, they won't give me an S for an extra character. So yeah, we definitely got some stuff in the works with some guests and everything like that. So yeah, if you guys want to listen to it, we'd love to have you listen to it and, send us some questions to talk about in the next upcoming sessions. Maybe Kyle's a part of the session. I don't know.
Maybe. Appreciate though taking the time joining us here in the second. I believe Ryan might be joining us here for the third period as he was in the first. But again, appreciate you taking the time for coming on, and we'll see what happens here for the rest of the game. So again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I know it was last minute, but I'm sure we'll talk very soon.
Yeah, no problem. See ya.
Awesome. All right. See you later. Okay. And with that, it's just me. I think it might be actually. I might have made a little bit of a white lie. You can tell him if you want, but I think I kind of did. I actually don't know if Ryan's coming on for the third period. If that's the case, guys, I'm all yours for the third period. We got an exciting third period coming up for you guys. Leafs currently lead 4-3 after 2. I'll be with you guys. You guys want to comment below in the comment section. I'd be more than happy to answer any more questions you guys got, any debates you guys want to do, what we think of the game so far, or anything else going into the rest of the season. So I'm going to go take a break. I'm going to fill up some water, and I think you got me for the rest of the game. So let's take a 3-minute break, and we will be back for God knows what's going to happen in this third period. So we'll be back in 3 minutes. All right, let's do this. We got one more to go here. Getting a little late here in the East Coast, but had a little bit of energy before the game started because God knows I'm gonna crash after this game, but who knows? We'll see what happens. As welcome back here, second intermission currently for the Flames and the Leafs. The Leafs currently 4-3 after another exciting second period. To kind of break down there what happened in that second period. It was all Austin Matthews. He ended up finding his his fourth hat trick this season. I think it was his 11th hat trick this year, or fourth hat trick. I don't know, whatever it was. He's got a lot of hat tricks. Matthews gets another one tonight, though. Marner got on the board too. The Leafs found themselves all the way up 4-2 at one point, 4 unanswered on Daniel Vladar. And then Mangiapane just got a garbage goal to find their way back into this game as the Leafs look to avoid another blown lead going into the third period during this, as we are here during the second intermission break. I appreciate you guys, though, coming on. I believe it's going to be just myself here. I might as well leave the scoreboard up for the remainder, but I believe it's just going to be myself here for the third period. So if anybody's got anything you want to talk about here in the comments section, I am all yours for the next however long this game lasts for. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions or any debates you guys want to talk about. I am all for it. But yeah, so we got another good one. I still have a lot of text messages flooding in from family members about this game, and it's the one game. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say the one game. It's the two games of the year where I have to kind of suffer through it a little bit because I really should be turning my phone off at that time. I'm not one to gloat and bug people during the game, but we win after the game. It's probably a different story. So hopefully we'll see what happens. I mean, I think it was important for them to get that goal on the Flames side of things. It was important for them to do it going into the third period. You had about 2 minutes left there in the second. You find a garbage goal past Martin Jones, and now all of a sudden you make this Maple Leafs team a little bit worried going into the third because of the blown leads that's kind of happened this year. So I'm very curious to see how this Leafs team will come out and respond despite being on this 4-game losing streak and, having seen these blown leads kind of evaporate. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the third period. I don't have a lot of confidence with this team, to be honest. My team for the third, it's been so up and down this year that I can't tell which way it's going to go anymore, but you got to have some confidence somewhere. So Andrew chiming in though here. Let's get it popping off here. What player would you like to see in Calgary? Mine would probably be Rantanen. If we're talking, are we talking the deadline? Are we talking about free agency? Are we just talking about any player in general? I'm going to say that. Let's just have fun with it. I'll leave it on. Any player, man, what player would you like to see in Calgary? That's a great question. I mean, ideally, the more I think about it, about the potential Elias Lindholm and the connections that they've had with Colorado, I'd be very curious to see what Bowen Byram can do and really elevate this decor a little bit more. I wouldn't mind seeing Byram. I mean, Rantanen, I think with the contract that I don't even know what his contract looks like. I'm going to go on my favorite site, Cap Friendly, and see what it looks like. I know that Landeskog is coming back for Colorado, but for Rantanen, he's got 2 years left on his deal, actually. So, I mean, hey, if you find yourself in a position, he's getting paid $9.2 million. That's some weird hair on the hat. He's got about $9.2 million on his deal, and it ends next year. So, I mean, if you find yourself in a position where you're contending and you think you can make that kind of pitch, maybe, right? The problem is with that is, being in a Canadian market, they were talking about this with Nylander's contract. The problem is you're dealing with a bunch of tax problems when you sign a contract here for the Leafs, for the Flames, etc. Right? They were mentioned, and the reason why I say that and bring this up is because William Nylander, when he went and signed his contract, right, at the 8-year, $11.5 million a year, they compared him with Kachuk's contract down in Florida when he was making he's making 8 by 8 or 9, something around those lines. I can look it up after. but they said that by the end of Nylander's contract, Matthew Tkachuk will still be making more money, outside of like sponsorships and stuff. And if you're just looking at the contract, because the taxes that Nylander is going to have to pay with signing this contract is ridiculous, right? So Tkachuk will actually be making more money at the end of the day. So, and then you wonder about, how much of a stronghold clearly he did with Nylander in these contract negotiations with him and Matthews over the offseason, and then Nylander recently, how much power they had in terms of negotiations. It was clearly a lot, right? So, in terms of taxes, I mean, they're going to be making the same as maybe even less than Tkachuk what is right now. And I don't know what the conversion is and what it turns out to be, but yeah, like my point is from this question here, Andrew, is that it's just tough to sign guys in free agency, and it's been like that for a long time, right? With this Flames team, it's been tough sledding, right? Because Tkachuk was up in the draft, we got Gaudreau in the draft, right? And the only time we can really sign guys for free agency is if we knew in our heart to heart that we are a Stanley Cup contender, right, going into next season. And I think that's what they kind of thought with the re-signing of Huberdeau, the re-signing of Mackenzie Weegar when that trade happened, signing Nazem Kadri. I think the thought was that the pieces are all there to get this done. And then we obviously saw what happened last year with that Flames team, and it just kind of fell through. So, I mean, it'd be nice to sign Ranson, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, like, you have to come to realization that it's just tough to sign guys, in these type of markets because, we're not a Florida, we're not a Vegas, we're not an LA, those type of markets that are clearly way more attractive than a Calgary market. So you just kind of have to be realistic with that sort of stuff. And, I've been realistic with that for the last 15 years, being a fan of this goddamn team. So, that's just the way it is, and you just kind of have to live with it. So, yeah, that's the way it is. So thanks for that, Andrew. Appreciate it. If you guys have any more comments or anything you guys want to talk about here, as we kind of, they got a couple more commercials here before they start the third period here. It's important for what this means tonight, and just getting the vibe around Leafs Nation a little bit, being so close to Toronto. And from what Brian mentioned earlier in the first period, it's very important for this Leafs team to win tonight, or else questions are going to start arising, right? You need 2 points tonight because, Ryan mentioned it earlier where you have the Canucks, you have the Kraken, you've got the Oilers, the Jets coming up on the schedule. It's clearly a really tough schedule, and they need these 2 points tonight. I don't think they care about bringing it to overtime and whatnot, but they need this win. So we'll see what kind of energy they bring out in the third period, and we'll see what the vibe is like too as we get the third period underway very shortly. Andrew's mentioning too, he wants either a playoff run or a very low in the standings so that we can either draft Tish Ginla or Sam Dickinson. Familiar with Ginla, obviously, but Sam Dickinson I'm not as familiar with. Our guys from the Flaming Talk here on THPN, Noah Adler was mentioning that Macklin Celebrini, we saw at the World Juniors too. He's a hot commodity who might or might not go number one overall. We'll see how that kind of pans out. But no, I completely agree with you, Andrew. I think because of the way that the standings have kind of fluctuated a little bit and the 4-game win streak has helped, you got Nashville, who's fallen off a little bit. Another team too to be reminded of, is the LA Kings, who I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm just going to quickly look, I think they're 1-4-5 or something like that in their last 10. They're 1-5-4 in their last 10 games. So they've been brutal and it's funny enough, they're actually playing the Predators tonight. So, and I mean, it's early, right? It's still January, lots of time, but you're right, Andrew. I think if you're really committed to making the playoffs, then, we'll see what happens in terms of them keeping their assets. They're 2 points back of the Predators. They're currently tied with the Seattle Kraken right now. Also 2 points back of the Oilers, who also have 4 games in hand. But what's worth noting is that, again, if you're a Flames fan here, is that the Kings have fallen off so hard that they are now only 1 point up on the Oilers and the Predators, and the Flames sit 3 points back. So with the Kings falling out, it kind of opens the door a little bit to more possibilities. So I'm very curious to see. And I mean, hey, the Golden Knights haven't been great either. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They haven't been great either. So, for a lot of teams kind of still in the mix, you have the Kraken and the Coyotes too, who are still there. This Flames team's been good as of recent in these last 4, 5, 6 game stretch. They've been good. Sharon Govich has been good. And, maybe they do find a way to sneak in. And, if that's the case, then great. But I'd like to see a more well-rounded team going into the playoffs if that's the case. And, if you ask me what they're going to do at the deadline, I couldn't tell you, right? I think the right move here is to get the highest value you can possible because you can't let Lindholm or, I mean, maybe you could Tanev, but regardless, you can't let a guy like Elias Lindholm walk, right? So you got to find a way to get the highest value possible out of him and see what kind of return you get, whether it be like a Bowen Byram or take your pick, but you know, you need to get value out of him. And if you decide not to go that route for the playoffs, then you got to sell all your assets possible and just tank and say, we're not ready for this. And just sell everything that you can, right? Whether it be Lindholm, Tanev, Hannafin, Dylan Dubé, I mentioned earlier, you got to start selling these assets and just tank for that spot because I'd like to keep my first round pick this year. I don't know about you, but that's kind of where I stand. As we are ready here, finally, for the third period here. Shots are 24-21 for the Leafs as we are underway here in the third period. Leafs currently lead 4-3 as they are looking to avoid their fourth consecutive blown lead, I think, actually, in a span of 4 games. Again, and we go back to them blowing the lead against the Islanders. They blew a 3-0 lead to the Avalanche, and then just recently they blew a lead to the Oilers just 2 days ago. So they're looking to avoid it again here as this third period gets underway. It appears the Leafs are very active here. I think we kind of knew going into this third period that they'd be very active and have that kind of energy, knowing that they don't want to fall out. And maybe I'll ask you guys too as well. We mentioned Keefe quite a bit. Speaking of blown leads, 42 games this year, leading after 2. They are 16-0-2 in their first 39 games with a plus 13 goal differential in the third period. This is the Leafs. They're a -6 goal differential in their last 3 games in the third period and are 0-3 as we mentioned. They have 13 blown leads this season. So we'll see what happens. I mean, stats are stats for a reason, and then that's just kind of who you are. But we'll see how much energy the Leafs have here in the third period. But getting back to my point here, and I wanted to ask you guys here, is Sheldon Keefe on the hot seat, right? Is it possible that if this goes south for the Leafs, if it's still a possibility that this team misses the playoffs, right? Because I think it's more important that they'll play important games against Eastern Conference opponents. But if they fall out or if it's another first round exit, do you guys believe that Sheldon Keefe is on the hot seat and he needs to go? I mean, I don't follow the Leafs as much as I'd like to, but just kind of seeing that, like, Ryan was mentioning earlier, you have to, right? I think you have to. You need a different voice. And it's not like, I mean, hey, if it goes south tonight, for example, and even the next couple of games with this road trip, if it goes south, maybe you do need a different voice. The Oilers did that earlier this year. Took them a couple of games. They go on a 12-game win streak, and bam, you're back in a playoff spot. So, the crazy thing with this league is that you can change things like that on the fly, and it turns around your season completely just from another voice in the locker room, just like helps that much, right? So I don't know. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on whether or not Sheldon Keefe after this season, regardless of where the Leafs end up. I mean, okay, if they go on a run, that's a different story. But where do you guys think Keefe, if Sheldon Keefe is on the hot seat or not? So love to hear your guys' thoughts too in the comments. And in case you are wondering, we do have a big game coming up too. For if you are a Flames fan, we got the Leafs tonight, but it is the Battle of Alberta on Saturday night. The Oilers will be coming to town to Calgary on Saturday for that one. It's a big matchup because we know how close we are in the standings. We know how well the Oilers have been playing. Whenever we played the Oilers recently too, I've never had that much confidence anyway in this team, dating all the way back to our playoff matchup. No confidence. TSN showing to the comeback kids. Colorado and Detroit have 8 wins each when trailing in the third period. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I can't get over the amount of blue shirts though in the stadium. It's ridiculous. I'm not surprised, but it's crazy. Um, and I know we've been talking a lot of Leafs tonight. I know I should probably be talking more about the Flames here as they get a really good chance in front here. Mikael Backlund is denied by Martin Jones. A couple of good tic-tac-toe plays there from Mangiapane and Backlund, and they can't find the back door. Shots are currently 26-22, and they're starting to show the ozone clock, which show, and as soon as they show it, they're outside the ozone. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. Again, sorry, shots are 26-22, and Leafs still up with 17 minutes to go. Andrew mentioning here, I definitely think we should start Wolf versus the Oilers if Markey still isn't back, because I find Vladar is really not very good as a starter. I couldn't agree with you more. I don't think Vladar. I think he's gotten his chances over the last couple of years, and he's going to get a little bit more. And I think he should go to a team that clearly needs goaltending, and maybe they sell him at the deadline. I don't know what that would look like. But you're right. I think I'm a little disappointed that Wolf didn't start tonight even. I mean, it was kind of short notice, so I can understand why. But, maybe they will. I think if it sounds like that he probably will get the start, because if you're recalling Dustin Wolf, it sounds like that they kind of need him for 2 games, right? Or in this little stretch here, because they said he was day-to-day. He probably won't be ready till the start of next week, Markstrom, I mean. Yeah, why not? I mean, give Wolf a start. Let's see what happens. Let's throw him in the fire. Let's, throw him against the Oilers and see what happens. I think he's, had a couple of chances this year where, from what I remember, I think the last time actually that he played, we did a live watch along between the Hurricanes and the Flames. And Dustin Wolf, he let in 2 goals early on, but he was sensational. He played great. And breakaway here from Marner. What a save! Daniel Vladar with the glove, and he absolutely robs Mitch Marner, who had a beautiful opportunity to put the Leafs up 5-3. I don't know what happened there. Defensive breakdown, and they just didn't see Marner go in behind the defenseman, and denied by Daniel Vladar. As we're talking about him not being a very good starter, he's having a hell of a third period right now, man. He's been stoned. He's been rock solid for this team here in the third period. Great save by Vladar to keep this Flames team still 1 goal down here. But to finish up my point, I think Wolves just needs some more starts. He hasn't played. The last time he hasn't played for the Flames, I think, was 2023 at some point, like early December, late November. So you're absolutely right. He does need to start, and I hope he gets it on Saturday. Man, that was exciting. As Anderson goes high too, it feels like this is the type of game that's probably going to come down to the last 2 minutes. Pulled goaltender, empty netter type situation here. Flames still applying a lot of pressure here, though, as they got the top line out there for the Flames, and Huberdeau, Lindholm, and Sharon Govich, showing the ozone time again, 35 seconds in the ozone for the Flames here, as the Leafs are still trying to find a way out here. They don't have their big guys out. It's the lineup for Tuesday. They still have Tavares out there, and they brought Tavares out a couple of times on the Flames goal, and like Ryan mentioned earlier, he's been very slow for this Leafs team apparently, and they've suffered for it. So they're really pressuring this Leafs line here in the third. Over a minute now in the ozone, still 5-on-5 here. Flames passing it around, trying to get a shot on goal here, trying to find some opening, as Huberdeau and Weegar kind of playing around with it a little bit, dumping it back in. Again, the ozone is still up here, and they finally get it away, as that second line with Bertuzzi, Nylander, and Tavares was out there for a really long time, as they're going to need a break from that one. 14 minutes to go here, and I can't tell you what's going to happen here. It could go either way. It feels like the Leafs could find that one goal here. Domi's going to go in alone. He's shot. Robbed again. Daniel Vladar with another save. Domi got in all alone. Just another bad breakup there by the Flames D-man. I don't know who it was, but all of a sudden, man, Vladar's been rock solid here in this third period. 2 really good chances by the Leafs, and they can't find a way to get through Daniel Vladar. Still a 4-3 lead for the Leafs here, as it's all the pressure in the world for Toronto right now. A little bit back and forth, but the Flames just can't find an opening here in the ozone. as Andrew's checking in. What's going on, Andrew? I know it's been a while, but good to see you again. It's all good. It's better to be, oh my God, what's the saying? It's better to it's better to be here rather than be late, okay? I don't know what the saying is, but if somebody knows it, please tell me. I'm having a brain fart. It's like 11 o'clock, okay? I'm trying to hit the pillows after. But again, thank you for coming, Andrew. Really appreciate it. And doing well. I hope you guys are doing well too. I know I haven't seen you guys in a little bit, a couple of weeks. What I can tell you guys though is we got exciting times coming here on THPN. So be sure to check it out. We're gonna be doing a lot of exciting things in the next couple of months, and I hope you can all enjoy the ride because it's going to be groundbreaking. I can't say much right now, but it's going to be pretty good. So I hope you all can kind of enjoy the ride as we continue this good start to 2024. Andrew mentioning too, if you guys didn't see early on, it was Pospisil who went down. He just clipped Matthews' skate early on in the first period, hit the boards pretty hard, and it looks like, I would understandably so, that he is out for the remainder of the game. And I just hope that Pospisil just recovers quickly. We'll see what kind of injury it looks like. We'll see the longevity of the injury when the game is all said and done. We'll probably hear about it tomorrow. So thank you for the update, Andrew. When am I going to be live next? That's a good question. I think I'll probably do one before the All-Star break. I have to look. Or maybe you guys know the answer because I don't know when the All-Star break is. I believe that they have games. Oh my God, when is the All-Star break? Like February? I think so. I think it's February. I'm just looking at schedules here real quick. I think it's the beginning of February. I think it's the week before the Super Bowl or weekend, whatever it is. When's that stretch? Yeah, so there's still lots of time. Okay. Yeah, like 2 weeks before, 2 weeks before. Yeah, February 1st. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Yeah, so I'll probably get another one in beforehand. When, I don't know. We'll be live again Saturday, though, guys. We were supposed to have one tomorrow night, but we had some technical issues for our guy who's supposed to do the Devils and Blue Jackets tomorrow night. Unfortunately, can't do that one. However, we are back live on Saturday for Saturday night matchup as the Dallas Stars, and he scores. Connor Zary. We are tied 4-4. Martin Jones left the puck in the crease, had no idea where the puck was, and it was a simple tap in for Connor Zary, and we are tied at 4. The fact that Connor Zary does not even have a mention in the Calder race this year is ridiculous. So Zary just put it on net. Jones had absolutely no idea where the puck is, and Connor Zary, out of all people, continues his fantastic season. And the Flames have tied it. And for Leaf fans, we'll see what happens. Lots of time left, but possibility of another blown lead. We'll see how it finishes. We are currently now tied at 4 with about 11 minutes to go. Man, the Leafs need this win so bad. As a Flames fan for this one, as Sheldon Keefe decides to call timeout, I think that's a good decision. Trying to rally the troops here. Look, I don't care as a Flames fan tonight whether we win or lose. But if this Leafs team loses tonight, like Ryan mentioned earlier in the first period, there's going to be some questions. And you can already tell that they're thinking about it in their heads, right? That it's a possibility another blown lead could be in their sights. I think they need the full 2 points tonight, though, if you're the Leafs, right? Like you can't go into overtime for this and lose and get 1 point. You just can't, right? This team should be winning these type of games. So we'll see what happens here. I don't know what they're looking at exactly. I know they called timeout. I don't really know. They might be reviewing the goal now. I don't really know what they're looking at. I know the Leafs called timeout. I don't understand if they're looking at something, or I think the coach's challenge. So Keith did challenge the goal. Why? That makes no sense. If you guys are seeing it, like, I don't get it. I have no idea. Andrew heading out though. Thanks for coming in, Andrew. Appreciate it. I'm sure we'll see each other again on another live watch along. We got guys on Saturday who will be available. So if you want to be in touch on Saturday, they'll be live for that one. We'll see you soon. Back to what's going on here. I have no idea what they're looking at here. At first, I thought it was going to be an offside, but they're not even close to the blue line. That's not what they're looking at. They're looking at a hand pass. It's in the problem is that it's in the air. Like, that makes no sense. Appreciate it, Andrew. Nice comments. Love to see it. So Coleman, the puck was flipped out by Bertuzzi, and Coleman like just grabbed it, or he didn't try to grab it, but he like was just trying to like deflect it, I guess. I think this is a ridiculous challenge. They're really looking at this though, because I think they're trying to see if Coleman hand passed it back to the point, but to me, it's a deflection. I think this makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, I don't get it. It's not like it wasn't offside and it's not on net. They're just trying to see if Coleman hand passed this puck. You can't really see on the angles that they're showing here. I need to see one more time. So it just tipped off his like the tip of his fingers. I think that's a bad. I don't get it. I think that's a really bad challenge. It's off. So basically, it deflected off like the tip of his fingers here, like not like in his glove or anything. Like it was right off the tip. As Bertuzzi was trying to get it out, but it just happened to go off the tip of the fingers of Coleman. And it has to be a definitive hand pass. But it's like, how many times does this happen in the playoffs or the regular season, for that matter, where it just happens to go off a guy's glove for no reason? And they keep playing. Like, that's to me just what it seems like. And all the Leaf fans are, of course, going like this. Well, no kidding, right? And they're going to come up with a decision here in a second here. Okay, they're going to make a decision here now. No goal. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That is ridiculous. That is the most bullcrap call I have seen all season long. That's ridiculous. Oh yeah, now Keith has to like pat himself because he thought, oh yeah, that was a good challenge. Like that was all me. That makes absolutely no sense. It just deflected off of Coleman's glove. It's not intentional of him trying to like grab it and chuck it out of the zone. If that happened in I don't know. That makes no sense to me. That's ridiculous. I don't agree with that. And look, I'm not a biased person. I like to try to think fairly here, but even if this happened with the Leafs on the other end, I'd be saying the exact same thing. I think the Flames just got robbed of a goal there. That's ridiculous. Like, they don't call that type of stuff in the playoffs. They don't call this type of stuff normally in the regular season. I think that's crazy that was not a goal. I'd like to hear more opinions on it if you guys ended up seeing it, but there is no way that they took that back. I don't agree with it. I think that's I don't know. I don't agree with that. And I know clearly, I mean, the game's not over and whatever. You still have 10 minutes left, but there's the point of that was that, again, Bertuzzi's trying to get it out, right? I understand he's intentionally getting out, and Coleman did have his arm out. He has his arm and his stick out, right, to try to stop it, right? But all it did was it deflected off his fingertips, right? And just so happened to go back to the point. Like, there was no intention of a hand pass here. They're showing it again. Yeah, okay, yeah, he closed his glove when the puck wasn't even near it, though, and the Leaf fans are going crazy here, but it's like, I don't get it. Like, what is a hand like, if I don't get what it's a hand pass or not a hand pass. I think they robbed them of a goal there. I think that's ridiculous. As the rage side of me kicks in. But what do I know? I mean, I'm not paid to do that type of stuff. I'm paid to do this type of stuff. So, whatever. It is what it is, right? I'll probably wake up tomorrow and forget about it. But anyway, so it's still 4-3 as we keep moving on here in the third period. They're just a commercial break here with 10 minutes to go. Again, guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out. I know it's not the most exciting stream in the world, but I appreciate if you guys want to ask questions or anything like that in the comments. Anything you guys want to chat about, I'm more than happy to do so and bring anything up. So we got a little bit of time left here, or we'll see how long this goes here in the last 10 minutes. In terms of other things going forward, guys, I believe we'll be doing some live stream. We'll be doing some events coming up for the All-Star game in 2 weeks now that I believe whoever mentioned it beforehand, it came up in conversation. We got a lot of great stuff going on in the next couple of months, and I wish I could share it with everybody through our social medias, through everywhere, even on when we do these live watch-alongs. Fortunately, I can't, but I'm very excited for the future that this network has and the great shows that we have on. If you guys haven't checked it out already, we got tons of shows for you guys to look at, and everybody does great work on their end. And I couldn't be more than happy to kind of be a part of it and help develop, what's an exciting future to come. So, yeah, I just hope you guys can kind of check it out and see what we have in store in the next couple of months, and even going into next season. It's something that we're really excited about, and I'm not lying here. I think this is going to change what we are planning and what we are doing. Probably going to change the landscape of podcasting and hockey for a long time. Like I wouldn't be saying that if I was lying. I think it's something that we've been trying to get going for quite a while, and we think that we're in a position to do it, and we're more than excited about it. So I hope you guys can kind of join along for the ride as the months and year comes. I'm excited to share it with you guys when the time comes. So I appreciate everybody still hanging out with us, and we're back underway here with 10 minutes to go here. Flames still pressuring, though. I like the pressure. I like the response that they have. Shots are 29-24 here for the Leafs in the third period as the puck goes over the glass. And I'm hoping Sharon Govich, because they're showing him right now, maybe he still finds a way to pot another one in and try and tie this game, even though they already did. Andrew mentioning, though, the Oilers 3-2 on the Kraken. The Preds and Kings are currently tied at 1. Clearly some games you want to look at if you're a Flames fan tonight. It's not important. I mean, like, they've been great on this great 4-win streak, and it's been yada, yada, yada. It's nice, but, it's early, right? We got a big matchup on Saturday against Edmonton. We'll see how that goes, right? It's too early. But anyway, here, back to the game here. Leafs back pressuring again. It looks like they have their second line back out there again, though, with Tavares, Nylander, and Bertuzzi, with Brody. And I think Morgan Riley's paired up with him on the defense there. They're applying a lot of pressure here in the ozone as the Flames find a way to get it out. Right back in. Tavares is going to get a really good chance. Bertuzzi denied again by Vladar. He's been rock solid in this third period. And this game is still a 1-goal game. I don't know if you guys, again, if you're coming in late and you saw what happened with the takeaway goal. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. I don't think it was that great, but wasn't the right decision is all I'm going to say for that one. Space-time continuum goes 2004. Puck went over the goalie's crease. Calgary lost the cup. I was probably, 6, 7 when that happened. So, like, I'm going to take somebody's word for it. Sure. Like, it is what it is. Yeah, I don't have a lot of comments on it. I mean, it was a good run, and, it's just the technology they had back in the day. And yeah, I can agree with that. Why not? They are going into break here. I believe the Flames are going on the power play because I think they're showing, I don't know if it was Liljegren or whoever on defense there, but I think he flicked it over the glass. And it looks like the Flames are going to go on the power play here, unless I get an update here, possibly. It doesn't look like it. Goal disallowed. Coach's challenge. Great. I don't know about you guys, but I thought that was ridiculous. And again, I'm going to get over it by the end of the night, but stupid in my books. Again, I'd like to hear where we got a little bit of time here, commercial break here. Would like to hear where everybody's from as well, too, where you guys are at, where you guys are listening from. If you're from Ontario like myself, I imagine that you guys dealt with the absolute ass kicking of a snowstorm that we got over the weekend. I can tell you it was not fun to be a part of, but on the bright side, if you guys are skiers or snowboarders or you are winter people, um, we got a lot of snow in the process. So I'm happy for that. That's all I can say. But being a skier myself, I'm pretty excited to hit the slope soon because I've been itching and dying to do it. Um, and I hope we can very soon. So commercial break here still, guys. We got I think there's about 10, what do we got? 9 minutes left in the game here. They still lead 4-3. Look, if the Leafs end up winning here in the third period, I have no problem with that because it's 11:30 on my end, and I cannot wait for bed tonight. I am slowly losing steam. Trying to have a little bit of sugar today, though. Just the PC brand lemonade, and I came to found out that it's got 50 grams of sugar. I'm at that point where I really shouldn't be having that much sugar, but needed it for tonight a little bit. As Andrew saying, he's between London and Windsor. Nice. So it's funny. I've actually driven down there 2 or 3 times in the past couple of years, and that probably must have sucked for a lot of the drivers between London, Windsor, or even like Kitchener, Windsor too, because it's very wide open. And like for the snowstorm that happened like this past weekend, being on those roads, like even anywhere too, like you guys know, like if you're driving on an open road and it's a snowstorm, winds gusting like 30, 40 kilometers an hour, not fun. Um, Back to the game here, though. It is a Flames power play, so it was puck over glass. I'm going to double check here real quick. They'll update it here. I mean, they're just saying 2-minute penalty, but anyway, it's puck over glass, and the Flames do have a power play here with about 8 minutes to go. We'll see if they can make things out of it here. Ryan mentioned earlier the Leafs on the penalty kill this year, Jesus, are 23rd in the NHL. And the Flames, as of recent, actually have been fairly good on the power play. And normally they aren't because they don't have a lot of goal scoring and all that sort of depth. So we'll see what happens here. 1:10 to go on this power play. They're still setting up here. They do have their top line, and that puck goes right down the ice. No chance for the Flames to get set up there with about a minute to go as they're changing lines in that one. There we go. See my $50 watch that I bought like years ago. Okay, Flames trying to set up here again. Anderson plans on keeping it in. He will. He's got Zari out there. They do have their second unit out, and that puck was blocked and right down the ice again. 40 seconds to go here on the power play. I imagine the Flames are going to be pressing here in the last 7 minutes. You wonder when Vladar is going to get pulled here. We'll see what happens here. Space-time still saying same thing happened in 2004 off a skate. Good point. Good point. I'll give you that. And I think they're calling offside in this one here. Looks like they're calling an offside. 7:10 to go. I imagine the topic of conversation, if this lead holds, they're going to go back to that disallowed goal. And I'm sorry, I still think we got robbed. I can't believe they brought that one back, but I'm not going to cry over it. Face-off percentage tonight, the Leafs do lead in face-off percentage at 53% to 46. 28 seconds left on the power play. The face-off was outside of the ozone, and the puck again goes right down the ice as this power play is looming to the end of its existence. I'm making up words here. I'm telling you guys, I am exhausted. About 10 seconds left to go here on the power play. And yeah, so plans just going forward for you guys, just to let you know, we do have another live watch along coming on Saturday. It'll be the Dallas Stars visiting the New Jersey Devils. We got our Devils guys taking care of that one on Saturday. And then looking ahead, I think we have a jam-packed next week too. We got about 3 to 4 streams going on next week as well too. I think I'll probably be doing another one next week. Might not be a Flames game. I'm usually on a lot with Neil doing his Devils stuff, but I'm happy to do with any game normally. And the thing that I've actually liked this year about the streams that we've been doing is that it's been a lot of different variety. You know, we've had Rangers, we've had Canucks all of a sudden this year. You know, we had the Jets early on, we've had the Coyotes. Like we've had a lot of different varieties for games this year in terms of live watch-alongs, and that's something I've been pretty happy about. So power play is over, 6:05 to go, and we're finally getting into the latter half of this game. And curious to see again when Daniel Vladar will get pulled, if they need to pull him at all. Leafs kind of had a lot of pressure early on in this third period, but since then, like since maybe the first, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes of this third period, it's been all Calgary trying to find a way. I mean, they did find a way to get one behind, and all of a sudden they're down one here with 5 minutes to go. Here, we'll see how it all ends. But anyway, so if you guys want to check out some streams coming up in the next week or so, I'm more than happy to try to jump on some more and maybe hopefully some earlier ones that are not at 9 o'clock at night. I'm blaming Peter for this one tonight because he lives near Toronto. He clearly went through the snowstorm that we had over the weekend. It sucked. It wasn't fun. I'm just going to blame him for tonight if the Leafs win, just because he's not here. So sorry, Peter. Oh man, I'm just like counting down the minutes at this point. If I'm being frank, guys, I don't care how this ends up at this point. Oh my god, 5 minutes to go though. No, I'm still in on this. I want to see overtime, man. I love 3-on-3. Anytime 3-on-3 happens, it's always a good time here. Zari was getting bullied around there a little bit, but still the Flames are pressing and they give it right back to the Leafs here. Again, though, it's not a lot of pressure for the Leafs. Chance in front just went wide. I think that was what was his face there? Mitch Marner. I don't know. No, it was Kelly Yarncroke, excuse me. Has a good chance in front. And Flames are regrouping here as they got 4:45 to go here in the third period. Can't really get organized here. Just a lot of bad passing. Can't really get set up here. After that disallowed goal, they haven't really had a chance to set up or had any good pressure on Martin Jones. So it's not been pretty here, but still some time left here in the third to see if they can do something. They got the top line back out there with Huberdeau, Lindholm, and Sharon Govich with Anderson and Weegar, I believe, is out there. And again, the Leafs just get rid of the puck, and Nylander's going to get a chance here one-on-one. It's going to be a 2-on-1 here, Nylander. Nylander's going to get a chance in front. Again, what an amazing save by Vladar. Cross crease, I think it was to TJ Brody, and Vladar sticks out the pad. Huge save. Another chance in front. Matthews, what a save by Vladar. Absolutely robbing Austin Matthews in front of the net. And Leafs still setting up in their zone. Unbelievable. Vladar is keeping this team alive. We mentioned it earlier in the show that he's not a starter. Man, somebody could use Daniel Vladar if we decide to trade him, man. Matthews is going to get a shot. He goes wide. Leaves a lot of pressure here now with 3 minutes to go. What a save, and he's going to glove it up as Daniel Vladar with an unbelievable amount of saves there. Matthews right there, but it was the pad of Daniel Vladar who's been sensational in this third period. And that means his trade value is going up because some NHL teams around the league need a goaltender. The Leafs might need goaltending. They might look at him and go, hey, we could use him. He's pretty cheap. I mean, he's only worth $2 million if anybody wants him. Who else needs a goalie this year? I think we've been kind of talking about it over the last little bit, but who needs it? New Jersey kind of needs a goaltender. I think Carolina needs a goaltender. Pretty sure. I think LA actually needs a goaltender too. I know they've been kind of riding with Cam Talbot a little bit, but I think it hasn't really been working out. I think it's going to become more apparent as the weeks go on to see, who's desperate for a goaltender. I'm really curious to see if Marc-Andre Fleury is going to get a chance to start anywhere. I think he's been playing. I don't know if you guys have seen his stats or whatever, but I think he's still got a chance to kind of, maybe not play. I don't know if he plays like a full playoff run with a certain team that wants to contend still, and they get Marc-Andre Fleury. I still think he's got some guts left in him to try and go win another cup. I mean, I think we started to realize even the last couple of years in the playoffs that, it's not just one goalie anymore. It's like you do have to have a 2-goalie system in order to make this work, right? And mentioning it too, I was on a show yesterday. We were talking about the Rangers and how Jonathan Quick and Igor Shesterkin have been fantastic this season. And Quick's numbers have actually looked a lot better than Shesterkin's. Just about to drop the puck here with about 3 minutes to go. And I'll wrap up this point. But basically what they were saying is that if the Rangers don't get off to a hot start, and I imagine Shesterkin would get game 1 and game 2 for when the playoffs do start. But if Shesterkin doesn't have a good start to the playoffs, they would have no problem putting in Jonathan Quick and in for a game 3 or game 4 type situation, depending on what it looks like. So That's why you need two goaltenders in this league, man. Sometimes you're in a hot streak and sometimes you're cold, and you just kind of need to find that balance, right? They're just about to drop the puck here, but again, just want to let people know about what's happening around the league. The Oilers have about 2 minutes left. They look like they're going to hold on for a 4-2 winning in Seattle with about 2 minutes to go in that game there. They're looking for their 13th win of the year. Vancouver currently in the second with the Coyotes, currently tied at 1 in that one, and the Predators are currently up 2-1 in that game there. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Leafs still pressing here with 3 minutes to go here. All sorts of pressure here on Vladar as he gloves up again with 3:05 to go. Mentioned it too briefly. I mean, the Leafs did have a lot of pressure early on in the third period for about 3 to 4 minutes. All Calgary, and really ever since that disallowed goal, the Leafs have been able to manage it. They managed the penalty kill very well when it was the puck over the glass, and the Flames didn't really have anything going on that power play. And all of a sudden, the Flames just cannot find their footing here, and they can't find a way to get out of their own zone. As the Leafs have been the better team so far in this third period in terms of just winning the puck battles, winning the faceoffs, winning the puck along the boards, blocking shots, and they've been gritty in this third period. So you have to give them credit where credit is due. 2:50 to go here. Flames finally find a way to get out of their zone here as they're still looking to find a way to tie this up here. And I imagine that Vladar is going to get pulled at some point here. A game I forgot to mention too, guys. Vegas currently up 4-0 on the Rangers as the Rangers are starting their road trip there. 2:31 to go here. And Vladar looking at the bench here. I imagine they're going to get Coleman. They're going to get all their goal scorers out, Sharangovich, and they can't find a way to dump the puck in with 2:20 to go here. Shots are 33-26 for the Leafs here. They can't. The problem is for the Flames here is they can't find a way to get into the Leafs zone, and they can't find a way to get set up as offside here. For the Leafs, they'll get set up in front of Calgary's bench for a face-off for that one here. 2:10 to go here. Important draw here. Flames have to win it. They have to find a way to get down the ice. And if you're going to pull the goalie, it feels like now is a really good time to pull the goaltender. But we'll see what happens here. God damn, there's so many friggin' blue jerseys in the Saddle Dome right now. This is wild. 2:07 to go here. Leafs win the draw, and they're just playing keep away right now. And I do not blame them at all in this one here. And puck in the bench, sure. I can't hear what's going on. Why not? I'm making the random calls at this point. Thanks, guys, again, though, for coming in here. Last couple of minutes here of this game here. We're going to be wrapping up. We'll see very shortly. Vladar is going to the bench, so there is an empty net now with 1 minute and 59 seconds to go here. And because I live in Ontario, I've still been getting a lot of text messages from my Leafs family, so love to see it. Face off in the Leafs zone here. They got 6 guys out there. It looks like it's going to be Blake Coleman as their extra attacker, which is wild because of how well he's played this year. And a really bad pass there by Coleman, and the empty net just missed, and it's an icing call. It missed by mere inches by Marner, and Marner can't believe it. So he thought that the other guy was going to, I think it was Yarncroke who's going to win the rush there against Anderson, and it just wasn't the case. I don't really know if I got the names right there. I'm just making it up as I go. Actually, no, it was Sharangovich. Sorry. Anyway, so it was icing. We're bringing it back here with just under 2 minutes to go here in the third. Shots are 33-26 for the Leafs. Leafs have won the majority of the faceoffs so far in the third period. Matthews is 11 for 13 on faceoffs tonight. He's been exceptional tonight as well. Kadri's had a decent night too in terms of faceoffs as well, as Matthews does not win the draw here. Kadri wins it, and the Flames try to set up here. 1:46 to go here. Empty net for the Flames. Yarncroke finds a way to get it out, and the Flames have to regroup here. 1:40 to go now. I think I already said that. I apologize. Sharangovich trying to find a way in, slaps it in. Again, they cannot find a way to set up in the offensive zone, and it goes right down to Marner. He's going to try to find a way to get a puck on net. Too many bodies around the puck here as the Flames get it, and they regroup. Back up to Kadri here. Just over a minute to go here in the third. Still an empty net. Puck reconvenes off. Leafs trying to get it out. Tripping call coming. Not coming at all. Slashing call. They kick it out. And now they finally get a call here as too many things happen there for the Flames as Lindholm is going to get called for slashing here. And I think that's going to do it, folks. Could have been a possible tripping call. I think it was on Huberdeau, but they're going to get Lindholm here as they try to get the puck out as Lindholm goes off for slashing. For me, guys, this goes all the way back to that disallowed goal. I think it was, not trying to sound biased here, but I still think it was a bull crap call. Lindholm can't believe the slashing. I mean, he did slash the guy, so you got to go off for that one. It flew out of Marner's hands, so I don't know why Lindholm was like all argumentative about it. But 1:08 to go here. Leafs are on the power play. They put Vladar back in net, and you can pretty much say this one's about wrapped up here. Full 2 minutes here for the Leafs, as it looks like they're going to hang on here for a 4-3 win with about just over a minute to go. Me being like me like not having any hope for the Flames here in the last minute. You never know, though. They might try and, I mean, it's tough, though, because it's 5-on-5, right? Like, even if you do pull the goaltender, like, you have to find a way in here as they try here. You got Coleman out there with Weegar. They might pull the goalie. I doubt it. No sign yet of Vladar getting pulled. 40 seconds left here. Flames with the possession. Excuse me. In the offensive zone here. Backlund now. They do have an empty net here. 32 seconds. Puck goes out. And they'll have a draw. It's 5-on-5. They'll have the empty net here, and they'll try to get I think what they're going to probably do here is they're going to get everybody they can here to throw something on net and just find a way, because now you're playing 5-on-5, and I think the Leafs can still, if the Leafs dump it, I mean, if they miss the net, it would still be icing. So big power play here coming up. Big power play, Jesus. Big face-off coming. You can tell I'm getting tired because it's almost midnight on my end. I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting exhausted here. 31 seconds here. They got Backlund going up against. It looks like Tavares here. Again, face-off percentages have been really good for both guys tonight as well. And the Flames win the draw, and they're going to bring it back for another face-off because they didn't like the draw. I don't know about you guys. I hate when they do that, though. Like with the refs, it's just like, just drop the goddamn puck. Like, don't trick these guys. Don't do anything. Make sure they're set and go, right? Like, there's nothing hard about it. Leafs win the draw here, 30 seconds to go. They just get it down. They pass it up, and they're, going to play some keep away here for the last 20 seconds. They lose it. Flames run back in here, 20 seconds to go. Again, Martin Jones really hasn't been tested ever since the disallowed goal 10 minutes into the the last 10 minutes in the third period. Never really had a lot of pressure. Marner's going to find a way to, you missed a wide open net, loser. As this game will end. The Leafs end their losing streak, guys. They win it 4-3 as I can't stand Keefe, man. He's got the smirk on his face, and when we go back to that disallowed goal, Keefe was kind of sitting there going, yep, pat myself on the back, like that was all me kind of thing. And I just didn't like that. But overall in this third period, they deserved it. I mean, especially after that disallowed goal, you got to give the Leafs credit, man. They didn't budge, and got to give them credit. Martin Jones was never really tested after that disallowed goal, and they played well defensively. They were blocking shots, and that's all she wrote. So Emerson coming in a little bit late here, as it is a final. Leafs win 4-3. They snap their 4-game losing skid as they now head off to Vancouver on Saturday. The Flames will be at home on Saturday against the Oilers as the Flames snap their 4-game winning streak. Guys, that's going to be it for me tonight. I appreciate everybody joining me for this one. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate everybody showing up too for the end of it. It was an exciting end, as I'm sure we'll be doing more of these again. But the Flames followed both games this year to the Leafs. It's unfortunate, but there's always next year. Thank you guys. Make sure to like, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more live streams, more events going on too as well as the year goes on. And again, I couldn't be excited for more of the exciting events and opportunities that we have going forward with this network. You guys do not want to miss it. We have a lot of great stuff coming up, and we hope you guys can be a part of that. So thank you again to Ryan and AB, our guys from earlier in the first two periods. I know it was a bit last minute, and I hope you guys catch you guys again on the next live watch along. So I'm going to bed. Have a good night. We'll catch you in the next one.
Say something.